What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the 33rd episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined once again by the co-host of the Kind of Funny Xcast and one of the coolest dudes I know, SnowBikeMike. How you doing on this Saturday morning, my man?
Good morning, Miles. I'm up. I'm hyped.
Yeah,
I'm ready to talk video games. Most importantly, congratulations, 33. That's a nice milestone right there, man. You are killing it.
Oh,
33 episodes. Great job on the Xbox Chaturdays, bro.
dude, I appreciate that. I know Kind of Funny recently hit a pretty massive milestone as well with the big 5-0. 50, over 50 episodes of Kind of Funny Xcast, which has been amazing to see. I know you guys had a very special guest this week in Tim Schafer with your Psychonauts blowout. So I recommend everyone go check that out if you were excited, stoked about Psychonauts 2 because it looks absolutely incredible. I know you've gotten a little hands-on time with some Psychonauts, so
I did, Miles. I got lucky enough with that preview. I got to play about 4. I think it took me 6 hours, to be honest with you, Miles. I was taking my time. I was having fun, but I had a blast with it.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I can't wait to play it. I unfortunately was not part of the preview, so I'm just living vicariously through people like you and Paris and Jez and all the cool kids who got to play Psychonauts too. But we'll get into that more. We have a pretty stacked show today. Took last week off. Wife and I went out, so want to visit the Steam Deck. We're going to be talking about Death's Door. We're going to be talking about Dead Space, and we're going to be talking about the absolute gauntlet of games that has kicked off basically this last week, and which ones we're going to play, how we're going to try to play them all, and a bunch more. So huge shout out to the over 100 people joining us already. I see Paris in the chat. I see Sergeant Rake. I see Brian Hopkins, Mr. Joanna Dark, a lot of amazing familiar faces, and I'm excited to get into the episode today. So Mike, there's been a game that I've been playing recently that's really hooked me in a big way. And it's a game that I figured I would like. It looked good on paper. It sounded right up my alley. But Death's Door has come out, landed in a huge way. And it is not only exactly what I wanted it to be, but in my opinion, it is one of the best games of the year so far. So what are your thoughts on Death's Door and how deep are you into this Crow Zelda Souls-like?
Miles, I am about 46% in is what it says up whenever I start up the game. I've just beaten the Frog King, so that's 2 out of the 3 giant souls. If you've been playing and keeping up with it, if you have not played it, it's probably, I don't know, maybe 2 to 4 hours into the game, depending on how fast you can slay out these different demons and monsters. But honestly and truly, Miles, I'm blown away by the team over at Acid Nerve. We Paris brought them on to the Kind of Funny Xcast, and in preparation, I jumped into their previous game, Titan Souls, to check out, what would the look, the feel be before this game came out. And I got to say, Titan Souls was a blast. Great music, great atmosphere, and killer boss fights. And I was like, okay, well, this should translate well, especially what we saw from previews like Jez and, of course, over at E3. And, man, once I went hands-on with this one, it's the real deal, Miles. I am truly impressed with the visuals, with the combat, with the tight dodge rolls, with the boss arenas. I'm having a really good time. And I actually messed up. I didn't know you weren't supposed to use the umbrella, Miles, but I was slaying out with the umbrella, and I actually took down one whole boss with it. And then I found out you're not supposed to do that.
No, you're supposed to. The real gamers only use the umbrella. That is literally an achievement for the game, is to play through the entire game using only the umbrella. So I love that that's in there. I found that weapon, and I was like, this is the first weapon I get in the game is an umbrella. I'm like, okay, let's go. So yeah, they did an incredible job. Acid Nerve is a super small team. I interviewed David Fenn and Mark Foster a while back before the game came out, talked to them about their process, and it's essentially those two, and I think they had 3 other people total, like, making this project. And for the, amount of people that, worked on Death's Door, I was genuinely kind of blown away by the overall quality of Death's Door. The production value feels great. The music sounds great. The combat feels tight. It is that beautiful marriage of Dark Souls and Legend of Zelda that, I wanted it to be, because it's got the kind of classic Zelda combat, the sort of isometric stuff that you're familiar with, but it's got the kind of interconnected world design of a From Software Souls game, and they understand exactly what makes Zelda special, and they understand exactly what makes Dark Souls special, and they're able to combine those elements into a game that is kind of uniquely their own. And huge success. I'm so stoked that this game is being so well received. I've seen so many people talking about how good it is, how it's one of the best games of the year, and I wholeheartedly agree. Acid Nerve crushed it with Death Store.
Oh, it's so catchy too, Miles. Like there's the moments that catch your eye and attention, and it's so shareable, right? We live in this world, you and I, where everything is online. You're sharing it with your friends, and that death animation to
Oh,
the final shot of death and your body underneath it with the enemy. It's just like that catches your eye, right? Then to the all black crow with the red sword on his back, and it locks you in. And like you said, the music is so good. And I also want to give a shout out to the team over there. After playing Titan Souls and before our interview and all that, I thought, okay, it's just going to be like arena boss fights. You're going to run over there. But no, they added NPC, or, I should say NPCs, but like minions that you can kill on the way. But I was really impressed with how large some of these areas are, right, Miles? I thought it would be, oh, go over to the tower there. You kind of walk up some steps, you're into the boss fight. No, there's like a lot of traveling to do. There's a lot of hidden secrets to go find. There's a lot to do before you work your way up to the boss fight. And I was really, wowed by that of like, oh, there's the big boss fights, but there's like some moments here where they put you in little arenas to go kill as many hordes as you can. There's like different puzzles you have to solve. I was really impressed with what they added because I thought it was just going to be pretty simple, but they blew me away with that.
yeah. You mentioned that deaths animation. So good. It's basically
Oh,
a meme. Every time you die, they just dunk on you. That the big splash screen says death, and your corpse is just shaking on the ground. And it's first time I saw it, I was laughing so hard. And every time I see it, it's funny because you're laying dead on the ground limp, and some enemies just stomping on your head while the screen is shaking. And it just never gets old. And little details like
no.
that, like when you cut the sign in half and then you go to read the sign and the text is cut in half. There's so many amazing little details that they put in the game that just make it fun. The physics as well. Like one of my favorite things about Dark Souls is just the dumb ragdoll physics. When you kill an enemy and you can just throw their limp body around. It's simple, stupid stuff, but seeing that in Death's Door, like killing an enemy and pushing its body into the water and having them lay just face down dead in the water, amazing. Stupid little
Oh,
details that make a huge difference in the overall experience. So yes, if you haven't played Death's Door, check it out. It is an absolute I don't know if
banger.
I'd say 10 out of 10 masterpiece, but it's close. I mean, I'd say 9.5 out of 10. I haven't
I think it's just solid, good game. It's right, Miles. Just a fun time. I mean, goes up there with your Hades, your Dead Cells, right? Like here it is. You can put that in your catalog. You have it. You play it, and a cheap price too, Miles. I know it's not on Game Pass. I know for some of us Xbox fans, we kind of gawk at now it's not on Game Pass, and we have that like, oh, what the heck? But for less than $20, when you can catch that, it's good. It's great.
Yeah, for I paid $17 when I pre-ordered it, and worth every penny. So good. I'm gonna get to a couple super chats here. People are dumping those out right away. Really appreciate it. Mr. Joanna Dark says, "Hello, Miles. I hope you enjoyed your time off and enjoyed some games. I'm glad to see SnowBikeMike return to the show. I'm excited to discuss games." Yes, Mr. Joanna Dark, I'm excited to have SnowBikeMike on, and I'm excited to discuss games as well.
Mr. Joanna Dark, I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to see you in the chat. I love that you got the same hoodie as I do. That's awesome.
Mr. Joanna Dark with another one. With Dead Space announced, do you think we get a proper continuation of the series after this game if it is successful? If so, new protagonist or not? We're going to get to that in just a minute. That's going to be our next topic here, is diving into the Dead Space reboot remake that was revealed this week. So just one sec, Mr. Joanna Dark. Eternal Umbra. Yo, morning, fellas. Death's Door is a 9 out of 10 for me. You guys think Psychonauts 2 will be as great? So you've played it. I haven't had a chance to play it. You think Psychonauts 2 is going to be as great or better than Death's Door?
Yeah, I'll start off with two totally different games, but yes, Psychonauts 2 is going to be absolutely great. It will be a must play. It's going to be a ton of fun. Miles talked about it at the beginning of the show. If you're interested in Psychonauts 2, myself, Paris, and Barrett, our producer, all played the preview, and we got to interview Tim Schafer on the latest episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast up now. But Miles, after my experience with Psychonauts 1 into Psychonauts 2. These past 3 weeks now, I've been playing just Psychonauts. I got to say, I'm so excited. And we've been blessed with another great year of It Takes Two, Ratchet and Clank, and now Psychonauts. Like, if you love action adventure 3D platforming games, you are going to be in heaven this year because you got all the games to try and play.
You're right. It has been an incredible year for platformers. It Takes Two, masterpiece. Oh, I was
Oh,
so blown away by how good and creative that game was. Psychonauts 2, yes, shaping up to be another incredible platformer, which it's always interesting to me, these conversations about, are 3D platformers dead? Can anyone even make a good 3D platformer anymore? Those conversations come up pretty much constantly when you look at stuff like Ukulele, which was met with kind of mixed reception because you have people like Paris, like many others who want Banjo to come back. People want a Banjo to come back in a big way. And then you have people asking, can Banjo come back and even be good? And I think It Takes Two, Psychonauts, Ratchet and Clank prove that you can put out a 3D platformer in this day and age and have it crush.
totally. I agree with that.
So, Mike, I know talking before the show, you are not the biggest Dead Space fan, or you're not the most familiar with the Dead Space universe. But some pretty massive news for Dead Space fans happened this week, and they finally confirmed the Dead Space reboot remake they're doing. It's essentially going to be both a kind of sort of remake of the original while rebooting the franchise. And that was announced with EA this week. So people like me, big horror nerds, are stoked to see Isaac come back and to see Dead Space come back. Especially after the way that EA did Visceral very, very dirty with Dead Space, with Battlefield Hardline. There's been some conversations about, should we celebrate EA? Should we be celebrating EA for bringing back something that they murdered, essentially? So I want to get your thoughts on this Dead Space reboot. Obviously, I'm excited to play it. I want to play it. I will play it. But to those people who say we shouldn't be celebrating EA because they are the ones that destroyed Dead Space in the first place, what do you say to them?
Well, I'm not going to celebrate EA until they bring back EA Big. So until I get all those games back, I'm not celebrating. No, for real. Celebrate or not, I think you should celebrate this. This is exciting to me as a fan of games. And, through backwards compatibility, Dead Space 1 through 3 is on your Xbox, right? I've jumped into Dead Space 1, probably got about halfway through it before I moved on to another game, just due to it feeling kind of old in the visuals, right? But Miles, you're my horror guy, right? Every time I look at you on the timeline, it's Silent Hill this, it's Kojima that, it's what's Blueprint doing, what is this other horror team doing with Team Bloober Team, So you're my horror guy. But when I think of what this game is going to be, I look back at Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, right? For me, I'm not the biggest horror guy. I didn't start Resident Evil until 5 personally and onward. So it is really cool to be like, hey, let's take this franchise, let's bring it back to the modern age, whether it be the reboot or the remake, whatever that is. Let's bring this back because people like it, right? And if it pops off, hey, we'll see where we go from there. Resident Evil 2 is a perfect example of like, everybody loved that remake. Everybody went wild for the stunning visuals, the gameplay, bringing back to that old school era that you love so much. And I think if you hit the nail on the head with Dead Space, it's going to be really, really special. And you could build off of that, right? I think that's what EA wants to show you right now is, hey, if this does well, we'll build off of it and maybe we can add this to the catalog. Pretty interesting, Miles, right? When I think of EA, there's a lot of titles in that catalog, but I think everybody, whenever they look at EA, they think of sports games, right? And so this is another one where it's like, hey, bring back that single player story driven game. Let's see where we can build off of that. And that's where I like to see a lot as well from these teams.
Yeah, because we lived in a world for a while where companies like EA were saying, we can't do single player only games. We have to have a multiplayer component. And we saw that with Dead Space 3, which I personally thought was pretty solid. Like, it wasn't as good as the first two when it comes to being a horror game. But I compare it to Resident Evil 5, where Resident Evil 5 is not a good horror game, but it is a great, fun co-op game. And that's where Dead Space 3 fit. But a lot of people looked at EA, looked at Dead Space 3 and said, this isn't it. This is not what we want. And then it didn't perform as well as they wanted. So because, this team was essentially forced to do this multiplayer component and it didn't perform well, that was kind of the end. That was the end of Dead Space because of that. And then Visceral got shifted to working on Battlefield Hardline, which again, didn't land in a big way. And then EA was like, sorry guys, you're done. we're shutting you down. You get no more money from us. You don't get to make games anymore. So people, rightfully so, were upset about that. I loved Visceral. Dead Space 1 through 3, to me, is like one of the kind of greatest horror trilogies of our generation, at least. Dead Space 2, in my opinion, the best of the series, one of the best horror games ever made. Absolutely incredible pacing. Dead Space 1 laid the foundation. Dead Space 2, much like Resident Evil 2, in my opinion, perfected that kind of foundation. So, to your point about, Capcom crushing it with RE2 Remake. Yeah, RE2 Remake, absolute masterpiece. One of the rare times where a remake comes out and is just better than the original game in pretty much every way. And I was, as someone whose favorite horror games of all time were Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil 2, I was not expecting to love the Resident Evil 2 remake in the way that I did. So I'm sure EA was looking at what Capcom did, and then more specifically looking at the fact that Resident Evil 2 remake sold well, and they're like, hey, maybe it's time we give somebody a chance to work on Dead Space. So we have EA Motive basically taking the reins on this remake reboot. So yeah, I'm going to play it. I'm excited about it. I get the criticisms of EA as a whole. I'm hoping, with the success of Jedi Fallen Order and this emphasis on bringing back iconic franchises like Skate, for example, and Dead Space, that maybe EA is trying to reevaluate their stance, much like Konami and these other publishers that have, fumbled in big ways with really important franchises. Hopefully they're understanding what they need to do to correct that. And, as long as these things sell well, because let's be real, Mike, it's all about the dollars. And these games have to sell well for them to keep putting them out. But if Dead Space comes out, hits in a big way, and people buy it and play it, I am sure, to Mr. Joanna Dark's question, that we will see more Dead Space in the future. I don't think there's going to be a new protagonist, though. I think Isaac Clarke is, the definitive de facto, like Leon and Chris in Resident Evil. That's going to be your hero. That's going to be your character moving forward with all the Dead Spaces.
It's interesting, Miles, when you think about that and you look at EA, you can kind of feel a shift in perspective from what it used to be 5 years ago, a decade ago, right? And I think that team over there is looking at themselves going, what do we need to do? How can we shift in a different way, right? We have BioWare now working on Mass Effect and another Dragon Age, right? You've got Skate coming back, like you said. You have the heavy hitters of the sports titles. But I think that Respawn deal really kind of gave them a shot in the arm that they needed to maybe open up a little bit and try something different, right? Huge influx with Apex Legends, dollar-wise as well, into Star Wars, which really gave them a boost. I think now that team might have a little bit of a culture shift, right? Where now they look at these games like you bring up and say, hey, let's try, right? Let's see what happens. If it does make dollars, it does make sense, and we move forward. So it could be pretty interesting to see what they'll do next. And just bring back EA big. We all want it.
Yeah.
Fight nights, I'm talking SSX Tricky. I'm going down the list of any
go.
Game that you love. But I mean, there's a lot in that thing where I look at it and I'm like, man, what could EA do? But it is exciting to think of a single player kind of horror driven video game instead of the sports titles like I keep bringing up or anything else. But I'm excited. This will be fun.
Yeah, we got to give Respawn some huge credit for, kind of forcing EA's hand when it comes to reevaluating some of these strategies. Like, they used to make it so everyone had to use Frostbite, and some people complained about Frostbite not working with their games. And then we have Respawn saying, hey, we're going to use Unreal. Like, we're using it. It's going to work better for our game. And like, all right, fine. And then that game, Apex Legends, is one of the runaway successes for EA in recent history. And so like, okay, maybe we need to reevaluate some of these strict policies we have and reevaluate how we approach games. And I want to believe that they're working towards a better and brighter EA, but that's yet to be seen. We haven't seen Skate come out. We haven't seen Dead Space come out. But if those do come out and those are great and those respect the fans and respect the audience, then maybe we have a lot more to be hopeful for with future EA releases.
Miles, they're bringing back NCAA football. I don't care. They're back. They're back, baby. They're in my good graces again. They're bringing back NCAA football. It's all good. You know what I mean? All can be forgotten. We got NCAA football on the rise, and that's all that matters to people. Okay, that's the game.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
That's the game, Miles. Okay.
Double A. Absolutely. When I think of world-class, top-tier bangers, NCAA, top of the list.
What a crazy, era that was, where that was the banger, right? You had friends who played Madden, but for some reason it was always back to NCAA. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the vibe of the stadiums and the teams and the alma maters, or if you just felt better at the college level. But like for some reason, it was always NCAA football, Miles. I don't know why it was. It just had this feel of like, oh, we don't play Madden anymore. We just play NCAA football all the time. And like that was a big deal. And I'm really excited to see what they do, especially with the NCAA in the real world changing and shifting gears with colleges and student athletes and how they're going to be paid and represented. It's like this is going to be a really interesting time, and how EA can kind of capitalize off of that will be huge, right? This is going to be a big deal for everybody involved. And so I hope they stick the landing, and I hope it comes back strong as ever, because man, that was an incredible era back then when that used to be big.
Yeah, there was this kind of weird period in time where college football was exploding. You had this like huge, dedicated group of people who were considering college football to be more interesting, more exciting than the NFL. And so that's why stuff like NCAA was exploding, because you had this group of diehard people invested in the college football scene. So it'll be cool to see that kind of revisited, like, the AAA. You got to respect the indies as well. It can't be all about the AAA. Nobody just starts off AAA. You got to work your way up.
Love that, Miles. I love that.
Super chat from Brian Hopkins here. That Dead Space trailer, while very short, brought the feels. Yes, I loved the nods to the original, cut off their limbs. A lot of nods to the original Dead Space, which, if you're a fan, yes, felt really good. Happy to see them letting a team bring a remake. When do you both think it's releasing? Mike, any guesstimates to when we'll be playing the Dead Space remake reboot?
Take a look at my calendar right here, Brian. Let me take a look.
Yeah, insider leak calendar.
I'm going to go with 2023, October 2023. I like the Halloween aspect. You get the scary mood. You're a little bit before the holiday push. I think October, and with where we're at, 2023 doesn't seem too bad, but maybe 2024. But I also have no idea on this game where it's at, where we are. You know what I mean? They could be coming out tomorrow for all I know.
I would love that. That would be an exciting Sunday drop for me. But yeah, I'm hearing that we might see gameplay later this year. Whether it be at Gamescom or some other kind of showcase, or maybe just even its own kind of reveal. I'm hearing that the Dead Space, reboot has gameplay that it can show. So
wow,
if we see gameplay this year and it looks good, I'm thinking maybe, and again, I don't know this for sure, I'm thinking maybe we see it September, October of next year. But
that would be
I think 2023 is definitely realistic. But again, if we do see a big chunk of gameplay this year, maybe next year we'll have a spooky Halloween banger in a Dead Space remake. So I don't know, but yeah, I would say probably 2023 is more realistic. But I'm, the sooner I can play it, the better. So I'll try to will it into existence and say last week of September 2022. And then
not bad.
If I'm right, I knew all along, and if I'm wrong, then it was just guess. So
bad guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's
not the guess. It's just a bad guess. My bad.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's the way it works online, Mike, we are in the just absurd summer gauntlet of video games right now. There is so much stuff coming out every single week. We have Death's Door, we have Flight Simulator, we have The Ascent, we have 12 Minutes, we have Psychonauts 2, we have, what else am I forgetting? There's a lot of stuff I'm probably forgetting, but we have this just constant stream of back-to-back games this summer in a way that we don't typically get in the summer. And there's a lot of stuff on my radar right now that I'm incredibly excited about. So what I want to know, Mike, is are you going to play all these games? And can we even play all of these games realistically?
Woo! Miles, it's already tough to play all these games right now, right? I'm already kind of feeling that, because the issue is you get so excited for these new games. You want to play them all, but you always go back to the comfort one. You know what I mean? You find that one that you love, you go back there and you keep playing it. But it is really fun to look at what's ahead and get excited at the chance of playing a bunch of games, right? I already circle The Ascent for me and my crew, right? Because I'm a big multiplayer game guys, as a lot of people know. whether you follow me on Twitch or listen to me on YouTube. It's like I play multiplayer games every single night with my friends. We hang out, we have fun. And so the Ascent is perfect for us, right? Like this is what we want. This is what we're excited for. I think of the New World, right? That Amazon game that you can jump into the beta right now. We're playing that MMO. We're checking that one out. Think of Pokemon. But yeah, when I look forward, I mean, the big ones for me, Flight Sim will be the one that's cut short. I've played Flight Sim before on the PC. I don't know how much I really want to go back and explore. I'll probably test it on the consoles and be done with it, to be honest with you, Miles. So Flight Sim will get the axe. The Ascent is a must play. 12 Minutes is a must play. And then Psychonauts 2 is a must play for me. And I'm sure there's some more games sprinkled in there that I'm forgetting. But those are my jump up at you, gotta play right now.
Beautiful. I was actually going to ask you if you could only play 3 of this gauntlet, which would they be?
There
Bang. And I'm 100% exact same page. 12 Minutes, Psychonauts 2, and The Ascent. Hands down. The Ascent, like you, I'm a big multiplayer dude. I love playing co-op with the squad. Again, like you, every single night we're jumping online, we're playing multiplayer stuff together. And that's just, I do enjoy a good single player experience, but if you're going to give me the option for multiplayer, it's probably going to take priority in my life. So the Ascent, the fact that it's 3-player co-op, I'm going to be all about it. It looks incredible. The previews have been great. I love the kind of top-down twin stick Diablo-ish gameplay that I've seen so far. The particle effects, the explosions, the world that they've created looks incredibly fascinating. And I think that's, like Death's Door, is going to be one of those big standout showcase indies of the year. And Xbox is consistently getting these really great indies, and we're seeing more and more developers on the indie side talk about how amazing it is to work with Xbox, and that for them, that's great. I forget who it was. I was on Twitter earlier today, and an indie developer was talking about, we like working with Xbox because they actually care about indie games. Because we've had conversations, basically not even alluding, blatantly saying that, PlayStation, for example, was one of the big ones, doesn't care about indie developers. So what is your stance on all of this, Mike? Do you think PlayStation, as with PS4 and all of their success with indies on PlayStation 4, has kind of fumbled a little bit when it comes to supporting and lifting up independent developers this time around?
That's a tough one to answer, Miles. I'm not in the boardroom. I don't know what their stance is and how they're really elevating or spotlighting that. I think you see a big push on the indie side for Xbox, right? Because we've talked so much about Xbox doesn't have the games, this or that, and we're currently waiting for all the big games, right? And I think along with all of that, you see the Xbox Game Pass service really shine, because when you look at Game Pass, you don't have the games. You got to fill it in with something, right? And indies match up so well with that for the price point and what you can do to spotlight these different indie developers. And I think on the Xbox side, you're just seeing a little bit of a renaissance, or maybe a little more push because of certain factors. But does PlayStation not do well for its indies? Does it hate its indies? I can't answer that. I'm sure they do just fine. And they probably really love indies over on their console and platform. But I just don't know what that's all behind, unless you're a developer and you truly work hand in hand with them and they're really giving you a bad time. But I think we're seeing that right now and having that conversation because Xbox is surging, right? They have the perfect situation for that. Indie developers are really going to have a good time of getting money up front to survive and continue to create things while getting their game in front of a lot of people with that service. So it's probably two sides to the coin. So I can't answer truly on what the PlayStation side would look like.
Wasn't a spicy enough response, but I do appreciate the nuance.
I know you were baiting me. You were about to hook me, and I was about to just start shooting the 6-shooter revolver at people and getting them out. It's just like, I love that we always have this. And, whenever me, Paris, and Gary talk, it's always about the console warriors and how do you do that? And it's like, we all love playing games.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact over on that side, that's a $1 million to $1 billion company. They're doing their best to figure out how to support indie developers and any developers in that fact. And you and I both know that.
Exactly. And I appreciate the nuance here, because some people do like to paint it just black and white. You have Xbox is good for indies and PlayStation is bad for indies. And that's kind of the narrative that we're seeing online. And again, to your point, it's probably more complicated than that. And we have seen great standout indies get a great spotlight on the PlayStation platform as PlayStation exclusives. And we've seen a lot of great indies do well on PlayStation and sell well on PlayStation. So I just think Xbox is doing a lot of things right when it comes to ID at Xbox. They have a dedicated team of people focused on highlighting, showcasing, and lifting up independent developers, which correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here, but I don't know if PlayStation has a dedicated independent team that's at least public facing. I'm sure internally they have people dedicated to partnering with indie developers, but
Mm.
they don't have it in the same way that ID at Xbox does it. And I think that's been huge for Xbox. And I think that shows, if you're an independent developer, that Xbox does care about you. It's not necessarily, we only want your game if it's going to explode and do well, and anything else we don't care about. They want your game on the platform regardless of its scale and scope. And that is exciting. And that's really cool. And it's especially cool if you're an independent developer, because you get, especially if you're launching an Xbox Game Pass, you essentially get humongous free exposure for your game. So we've had the conversations about having to pay for exposure on other platforms. With Game Pass, you are getting a huge burst of not only free exposure, you are getting paid for this exposure, which is an interesting dynamic, and I'm sure very enticing if you're an independent developer.
Yeah, I'm sure that feeds a lot into the conversation when these journalists ask them, "Oh, so what's it like?" It's like, well, they paid us. We really like that. It's really helped out a lot here. So yeah, I'm sure that feeds into a lot of the narrative.
Exactly. So quick shout out to the 200 folks rocking with us live. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are new to the show, we are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. If you're digging the show, like it, share it out, all that good stuff. I want to circle back to Flight Sim, Mike, because I haven't played Flight Sim on PC. I thought about installing it. I have a PC that can run it, but I guess I don't really care, honestly, that much about Flight Sim. It's a visual showcase. I'm sure it's going to look really good, but I am interested to see how the multiplayer works and how the experience translates to console. I've talked to people who've played it on PC and talked about how kind of complicated it is to control Flight Simulator on PC. So I'm wondering what the experience is going to be when you're holding a controller in your hand. Have you tried it on the console preview?
Well, Miles, you're lucky enough. I got to play it on the preview yesterday, and I'm
Yeah.
allowed to speak about it. Of course, I can't give my final review, nor will I, because I only played about 3 hours of it. But what I'll say right now is I've played probably 15 to 20 hours on PC when it released last year with me and my friends, and it was a ton of fun, right? I think everybody felt that COVID times we were locked up and we needed to just get out and explore. And what cooler than the idea of this world, everything being translated into this world, and you can fly anywhere, you can do anything. And we had so much fun with it. And you know what? They did a really good job at going from easy to intermediate to expert on the flying controls and how it all interacted. And if you shove that thing down to easy, Miles, you can take off, you can fly, you can do anything and have fun with it. Of course, once you step up there, then you start to add in the real factors, and the plane might snap in half if you put too much G-force on the thing. But going over to the Xbox side, I was really impressed with how easy it was to turn on and get going, right? Greg Miller yesterday received the care package from Team Microsoft. He plugged in the Thrustmaster flight stick. He got himself set up with the foot pedals and the flight stick and took off and was flying in no time, right? I was on the opposite side. I played with my controller, no problem at all. And it's actually funny. I played on controller on the PC, so it was just like, oh, here we go. We're moving forward, no problems at all. And so, yeah, I think this is one of those games where you're going to be stunned at what this team did and how they created this world, and you can fly anywhere and do anything. They have the new land anywhere feature. It really helps out beginners to intermediates of like, hey, just land, put the thing down and do whatever you need to do, right? And then they have so many fun challenges that you can take part in. Yesterday on stream, I was showing off the cool landing challenges where you land on like the world's smallest tarmac and you try to just get it on there, right? And it's like 1,700 feet. Good luck, figure it out. And so there's a lot to it, and there's a lot a lot of fun to be had. And it is beautiful and stunning, except for when you get up close. You're not supposed to actually like fly like bird level above your house. It's not going to look quite right. So everybody just make sure you know that before you come after me. I'm like, you said it looks stunning. It looks perfect. When you fly too close, it doesn't look that great. Other than that, it's really, really cool to see everything represented and fly over your home, fly over your best friend's house. It's a really cool situation.
Yeah, I'm excited to get in and just try it out and just get online. And as someone who's played it, am I able to squad up with other people? Because I know there is multiplayer, but I don't really
Yeah,
know
I
how
believe
it
you can.
works.
I might be wrong, but I believe you can fly up to 12 people in a server with your friends. We were flying with at least 6, me and my friends. So, that was the PC. I don't know what the Xbox side does quite yet because none of my friends have it and can play it with me yet. But I thought it was 12 is what I believe it was. So I could be wrong, but I believe it was 12.
So I just want to get the boys online and just fly to Egypt, And that's
It,
probably going to be the extent of the time I put into Flight Simulator, but
Oh no, you see the cool part now, Miles, will be it's like you'll see Egypt, you'll see the pyramids, but then the best part is like then one of your friends will be like, well, what does Sydney look like? Let's go down to Australia and see the Great Coral Reef, right? And then one of your buddies will be like, well, I love Tokyo. Let's get up there. And it's like you're just gonna pick different landmarks and fly all around and check it out, and you're gonna be wowed by it. This one of those games, like I said, I put it on my back burner games. Like you're probably gonna play this for like 5 to 10 hours, and unless you're like into it, you'll probably just continue on, save the hard drive space, and move on. But like for the people who are really into flight sim, this is a killer game. And this is a ton of fun. I think of it like Forza to me, right? I'm not a big racing guy, but all of a sudden this thing captured my attention, and now all I want to do is play it.
yeah, and that's the stuff that's interesting to me is like seeing these gorgeous landmarks kind of, in real time and getting the experience of hitting all these, global destinations that I've never been to. Hopefully one day I'll actually go to, but, through Flight Sim, I can sit back in my gamer chair with the homies and go visit some of these amazing landmarks. Um, but yeah, I'm glad that there is a multiplayer component to it because that opens up some more possibilities for me. But I'm curious to see, how it's received and what the console community thinks of Flight Simulator because this will be the first time that there's been a flight simulator game in 30 some years on a console.
Yeah, I mean, and it's on Game Pass too,
Yeah.
right? These are one of those games where you would have, unless you're truly devoted into these kind of games, you'd have a tough time spending $60 to $70 on it. You probably would pass, and then the team would come back and be like, "Do we really want to do a console edition? Like only the diehards are doing it." Game Pass, bang! Now everybody's gonna try it at least, and that's all that matters.
Maybe I get sucked in. Maybe I get myself the whole flight deck, and that's just my life now. My wife knocks
I
on
mean,
the door, like, Miles, you've been in here for 8 hours. Are you okay? Is everything
you know what I mean?
Oh
Mom.
yeah,
I mean,
look at that thing. Oh,
I got the big flight deck from Xbox. So shout out to that team and thank you. But yeah, this is the box. This is how big it is, Miles. So make some room in your house and your room because it's taking up everything inside of my studio here to keep this around.
yeah, that is something that I was thinking about logistically. If I even set that up, where would I put it? I feel like it would block half my monitor, or I'd have to put it on my lap and be like this far away. But
Isn't that? I bought myself one of the driving wheels because I really, like I said, got deep into Forza, and it's one of those of like when you're not playing it, then you start to look at this equipment and go, where do I put you? How do I get you out of my face and out of my life right now, right? And so like my driving wheel is like collecting dust, hiding inside of a closet, and like sometimes I'll stub my toe on it and I'll be like, God blessed, what is this? But then I would think back in the moments. And I'm like, do you remember when you were taking that hot 90-degree left turn in Fortune? You just, and it's like, this is the best. So shout out to gaming peripherals, which have really come a far way and are fun to have. I even bought myself a fight stick once, Miles. I
oh
suck at
yeah,
fighting games. I mean, like, I am the absolute worst at fighting games, but I'll buy Mortal Kombat just because I love the box art and all the cool characters. So I bought myself a stick and I just do this with it. I just smash buttons with all of my hand, you know what I mean? And hope to God it works. But yeah, I got a couple of dumb things in the house that I smile and laugh at and go, hey, maybe I shouldn't have bought that. But it also brought me so much joy when I did. So they're cool stuff.
exactly. I open my closet and I see stuff that I haven't used in years. Rock Band, prime example.
Yeah.
Of something that takes up a lot of real estate. That drum set takes up a lot of space. And, I just look at it and say, you know what? I might not use it now, but at one point in time, I was using this shit every single day.
Oh my God, all those plastic guitars. You're bringing me back with the plastic guitars, The DDR dance pads was great. The little toy guns you would shoot at the screen for Time Crisis and those different games were great. It's like there's a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool things. My PSVR setup, that's somewhere collecting dust as well. That was another thing of just a lot of things I didn't need, but I bought anyways because I loved it.
What is your take on VR right now, Mike? I have one friend of mine who is obnoxious about VR. He is just constantly pushing everyone in his life to get all in on VR, and it's like a religious experience for him. He is all in on VR, and he wants everyone to be all in on VR. I have played VR more than 10 times. I played VR quite a bit, bunch of different games. It's been cool. It's been a cool experience. Um, is it something you right now would invest in? Would you spend $1,000 to get a serious VR rig?
I'm like very close to the tipping point where I would, but also I'm not. I am truly not ready for that, nor do I want it. There's only been two games that have ever captured me in VR, and that is Skyrim on PSVR, which
Oh,
if you
nice.
put me in the Skyrim world, it's just like somebody feed me and like throw some water on me occasionally because I'm never leaving it again because that was so much fun. And then they have a game called Firewall Zero Hour, which was the first time I've ever played a competitive shooter in VR and absolutely fell in love with it, right? It's like 4v4 Rainbow Six Steed status, and it was so much fun, an incredible experience. But when I think of VR, I don't like being tethered and, being stuck with that, right? I didn't have that nice Oculus set where they cut the wires off and you can actually like kind of move around and not be tied down to something. So that's a big factor for me. Then as well, it's just like the games, right? There's no standout games. There's nothing truly where it's just like, yo, you got to drop everything and experience this. So you got to put down the $1,000 for me personally. And so right now, VR still very far off from me truly committing to VR. And I think we see that as well. There's a lot of cool VR developers. There's a lot of cool VR games, but not enough people are truly investing in VR to push this thing forward quite yet. And I don't know. I wonder, Miles, truly and honestly, if it will die off or if it will ever catch fire and be the next big thing where we're all, no matter what, are strapping into the metaverse and going in.
Exactly. It's an interesting conversation because VR has been around basically since the 80s in theory. Now, obviously, we're in a place now where it's better than it's ever been, and I've had amazing experiences. I forget the name of the game, but it was like a military shooter where you're with a squad of 5, and it's kind of like a Ghost Recon, like stealth based. And so I'm in my friend's spare bedroom in his VR headset, and I'm prone on the ground, crawling through crawling through the trenches and picking people off and stuff like that. I'm like, that's awesome. That's something you can only do in VR. And in those situations, like, yes, I've never been more immersed in an experience because of just how ridiculous this is. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's Half-Life Alex, which people have said is like, this is the showcase for VR. This shows you the potential. If more people did games like this, VR would explode. But the real question is, will more people do games like Half-Life Alex? Will Valve? I mean, Valve is the most invested because they have a headset and they're trying to sell you, so they need to have standout games to do that. My biggest grief right now is the technology makes me horrifically motion sick. Like,
Oh, you're
certain
one of those guys. Yep.
yeah, certain games. I remember playing Serious Sam in VR, which is a very fast-paced first-person shooter. 30 seconds in, I'm like, oh, dude, I can't. I can't. Like 30 seconds in, I'm feeling sick. It's like that extreme. Like, oh, not all games are like that, but that's been the biggest hurdle for me. And people are like, oh, you get used to it, you get over it, or chew ginger or something while you play. I'm like, if I have to do all this, like, no, no, thank you. Like, I'm just gonna sit back in my chair and hold a controller and look at a screen because that's been the biggest hurdle for me personally.
Sometimes I still think about the Microsoft HoloLens, and it was actually funny. There was a report about the HoloLens being sold to military in the military industry for a bunch of money and having that be worked on. And I did some research on that of like, well, where is that and what is it being used for? And it seems like it is military heavy, but also, kind of medical heavy. There's a lot of different medical schools and different medical professions that are using that to teach the next generation, use that in certain situations, which is really cool. But I still think back to that EA or that E3 production with the HoloLens and Minecraft and being like, wow, look how stunning this is. And like, what kind of crazy ideas could they come up with, and will we all wear glasses on our face while we play Xbox? I have no idea, but I think they moved away from that because they just knew that the mainstream wasn't really in the mood for that. I think everybody wants to sit on the couch, not have something on their face, and just relax for a while.
Yeah, the HoloLens, it seems, has shifted to commercial and educational purposes
Yeah.
pretty much exclusively because the tech is cool. And yeah, like you said, when we saw that Minecraft demo and you had somebody playing the game, and then you had the basically Minecraft god with the HoloLens looking down on the Minecraft world, I was like, that's amazing. That would be such a cool experience. And then you realize that the HoloLens is $3,000, and you're like, okay, like that's cool. That would be cool, but is it $3,000 cool, Mike?
Is it? No, it's
No.
$3,000. Well, I take that back. It's $3,000 cool if you were working in those cool professions that it's actually used for.
Okay,
Gaming wise, no,
yes.
it's not with that. Like if I was a medical surgeon and I was using it the correct way, what it's used for, yeah, it'd be pretty dope to have in the classroom and be able to do stuff with it. In my world, no, not at all. It's not worth $3,000.
No, having a fun, gimmicky way to play Minecraft, probably not worth $3,000. So it was cool. We saw some cool like concepts of what it could do in gaming, and there's no question that, you know, the possibilities are there, but widespread adoption and, you know, people being invested in it are the kind of biggest determining factors of if it's going to succeed. As we saw with the Kinect. Kinect was cool tech, but nobody's really using it. Nobody was doing anything exciting with it, and so people weren't buying it at a certain point, and then it just fizzled out into obscurity.
Yeah, but we had some great moments. Connectimals. You know what I mean? You were petting that tiger. We were having some fun. I had the Nike Fitness Pro app yelling at me to work harder, and then I vomited, and I was like, well, I'm never playing that again, y'all. But, we had some ones. We had some games. You know, we had some moments.
Rise of Nightmares. Did you play that?
Rise of Nightmares, I did not. You're the horror game guy. Was it good?
No, no. It was
Okay.
actually, it's kind of like Deadly Premonition in the sense that it is so incredibly bad and weird that I would highly recommend, if you have any passing interest in horror, that you find a way to play it, because it is a fever dream experience, and controls are just terrible. The motion controls are abysmal. The game is ugly. But that being said, my friend group and myself and my friend were laughing harder than we've ever laughed in our entire lives playing this game because of how absolutely dumb and ridiculous it is the entire time. It is the campiest, weirdest, dumbest horror game I've probably ever played. And for those reasons, if you have a Kinect and still have an Xbox that can even support the Kinect at this point, check it out, because it's a special moment in time that I feel like 98% of people will never have a chance to experience.
It's funny you bring up if you still have the tech to do it. Remember when they came out with the dongle for the Xbox One to connect it to that, and like people were using it for their Twitch streams and stuff? And I remember I have both the Kinects. I have two dongles now because I actually bought a dongle and a Kinect for my buddy so he could try to Twitch stream. And I remember thinking, man, this dongle is so expensive, right? It actually became like the 360 wireless router. If you remember how expensive those got at one point, it was like, why is this so expensive out of nowhere, folks? You know, it's like, oh man. And that's just how it goes.
Circling back to the Kinect and circling back to Dead Space, there were a lot of people doing really cool like tech demos of the Kinect on PC. And one of those, somebody had coded Dead Space 1. You could play the entire game through Kinect motion controls. And it was really cool. And back in the day, this was a while ago, I remember seeing that. I'm like, yeah, okay, we can have full-fledged games on Kinect. This person is demonstrating that they were able to do that. And then, yeah, nobody did, Mike. Nobody did. Fable Legends, though? No, it was not Fable. What was that Fable one? The weird first-person wizard one? Like Fable Journey. That's...
Yeah. I think, no, I just think of like the Star Wars dance one, right? Where they were dancing. I think of yelling Dovahkiin at people and Skyrim with the Kinect experience. I think of NCAA football, one of the final years, had Kinect features in. I think Madden also as well. It's like they were trying their best to keep that thing alive towards the end there. It was just like, Why don't you just shove some features on there? And they're like, yeah, sure. Yell hike at your television and we'll hike the ball for you. It's like, okay, cool, you know?
Yeah, I remember setting up my Xbox One for the first time. I had Dead Rising 3 going through the tutorial, and part of the tutorial is yelling at zombies to get them to walk towards you. And I was like, "That okay? That's their connect. That's their connect feature here." Just like, "Hey!" And then zombies shamble over to you, and they're like, "Hey, it supports connect. We're here." And I was like, "Cool."
Hey, keeping
Rise,
that loud.
same deal. Like, yell over here, and
Oh, yeah.
we'll shoot arrows over there, and it's like, while the voice commands were cool, like that's a very expensive camera to just have voice commands integrated in. But what as we saw, nobody cared about the Kinect, and quickly it died. Quickly it died.
Oh, now it's right.
Pour one out for the Kinect, y'all. Mike, I want to talk about X Defiant. I want to talk about Tom
Okay.
Clancy's X Defiant, which was revealed this week. It had leaked probably about a month ago, and people were kind of expecting something at E3 for it. And it was like this kind of multiplayer, hero-based, squad-based shooter in the Tom Clancy universe. And once again, it was not a Splinter Cell game, which a lot of people wanted. So what were your thoughts on the reveal of Tom Clancy's X Defiant? Did that do anything for you?
I mean, shout out to this team for avoiding Splinter Cell like the absolute plague. You know what I mean? Just any chance they get, people will come up with Splinter Cell, so they'll just give you the juke move and just avoid that thing like it doesn't even matter anymore. X Defiance, an interesting one. It's one that I was not prepared for. I didn't see any sort of leak. This one kind of came out of the blue at me. And man, I don't know if this caught me or not, Miles. I'm like so in between, right? Because I think of all the properties that they have, and it's like, give me a Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Like, I'd much rather play that, my guy, than this, right? Or give me a dedicated Splinter Cell like we deserve. Like, there's so many games that I'd much rather have than this. And so when I saw that, I'm like, all right, what's your catch? You know, because I am playing first-person shooters almost on the nightly, right? I have my finger on the pulse of all of those games all the time. And so you look at a 6v6 team arena shooter. It's going to have hero abilities very similar to Overwatch, right? And now you're bringing in all your favorite IPs, and it's going to be one of those little stews of, oh, did you like, The Division? Oh, did you like Splinter Cell? Oh, did you like this? It's like, let's put them all in there. And will it pay off? I hear a lot of people praise them because they have some big time developers and some big names behind it. When it showed off, it wasn't awe-inspiring, right? There was a guy with an AK-47. There was a lot of words on the screen for getting double kills and triple kills. There was some cool abilities. And so you just kind of blend into the first-person shooter genre for me when I see that. There's nothing stunning like a Titanfall where it comes out and the guy's running on the wall, jumps into the mech, and you say, oh, wow, that's wild, right? It's not an Apex Legends where it comes out and says, hey, look at these incredible characters. Look at this art style. Look at how we're going to change the shape of battle royales. Like, none of that screamed at me when I saw X Defiant. Absolutely none of it. And so as I continue to break it down in my head with you, Miles, no, this did not capture me. This did not enthuse me. If anything, Miles, I'm actually worried because I notice sometimes, we like to say 6-on-6, but then I notice these games are like, actually, you can party up with 3 people, and then we'll just put you with a random party of 3. And it's like, God, if this game doesn't let me squad up with 6 of my friends, like truly and honestly, I'm going to be pretty salty about that. So that's the only credit I'll give it is like, I like 6v6. I like that number, right, Miles? Because we've gotten into this era where it used to be 4 people. And then we were like, hey, take that third friend of yours and just kick him out of the room. He's never allowed to play games with you. We only play 3-on-3 now. And it's like, okay, so 6, a little bit more than I wanted. Would have preferred 5-4, but 6 is nice. So we'll see if this is hot or not. I honestly, Miles, I can't get a read on this until I get my hands on it and see the motion, see the, gunplay. But right now, this seems to be a run-of-the-mill, hey, let's try to make a games as a service cash grab and see if it pays off. And we all remember what happened to Hyperscape. Don't you dare look at me right now in that camera and don't remember Hyperscape, because we know what happened with that game. And this game has probably the same fortune written all over it off the jump here.
Hyperscape. I played it, Mike. I did. I gave it a fair shake. I wasn't gonna
You
I wasn't
you
gonna
played it, Miles. Is right. Good step.
I wasn't gonna write it off before trying it. And I did the tutorial. I made sure I knew how the game worked. I played 3 matches and then I uninstalled it and never ever considered touching that game ever again for any reason under any circumstances. It was hyper generic.
Yeah,
Pun intended. But um
that was good.
Tom
That was
Clancy's
good.
X Defiant. I am in the same camp. The reveal did not do anything for me. It didn't look bad. I understand everyone's appeal to want that kind of Overwatch multiplayer thing that you play with the squad every single night. They want to get you sucked in. They want to get you playing. They want to have people streaming it. They want to have this community built around this game and have this ongoing support. And, we've seen so many examples of that, do well and just become beloved by so many people. Apex Legends. I will be honest, Mike, I did not expect Apex Legends to be adopted in the way that it was because it came out kind of late, arguably, in the Battle Royale game. And it exploded. It did incredibly well. People love it. People still play it. So I understand a team like looking at that and saying, hey, how do we take Tom Clancy's world and all these different characters and how do we try that? Can we do it? And that was probably the market pitch for X Defiant. In their little promotional reveal, they talk about how it was Tom Clancy meets punk attitude. And
Punk.
that's a bit cringe. That was a little, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That setup and was for me personally it was tough to swallow. That marketing pitch, if I was in a boardroom and you told me Tom Clancy meets punk, I'd say, no, we're not signing off on this. What does that even mean? And I think we still have questions after watching this reveal as to what a Tom Clancy meets punk attitude game is. And I'm sorry, not to go on a rant here, not to be negative, but there is nothing punk about XD. Having the XD emoji in your freaking logo, that's not punk, Mike. That is not punk at all. That is the most anti-punk nonsense I've ever seen in my life, and for them to say that it's punk, it's offensive. It's offensive to me, and I don't know. We'll see how it is, but I'm in the same camp, Mike. I think it's going to be potentially dead on arrival because I haven't seen anyone come out and say that this looks like something that they're excited about. In my personal bubble of friends, no one is excited about this.
They have a big uphill battle. I mean, being in that first-person shooter space in general is a big uphill battle to climb, right? There's not much elbow space, and you're going to have to really battle in the mosh pit to get punk with you to try to get a little area for you to breathe and get a little bit of a community. Because when you look around right now, we see what's thriving. We see the Fortnites, the Battle Royales. We see the other team arena shooter games that are hot right now, right? From the Valorants to the Overwatches. And guess what? When you look forward on the calendar, we have even more coming out with Battlefield now returning, with Halo now returning. And so this team right here looks at their, portfolio of games from Ubisoft and they go, okay, how do we get involved in that? And how do we do this? And so they've made a choice, right? They want to go team arena 6v6. They want to have that punk attitude. Like, I know you hate it, but the loud colors, the leather with the spiked jackets, of course, we'll see plenty of that. And it's going to come down to gameplay, right? That's all that matters. I don't care about your look, aesthetic, setting, whatever you want to do. Your gameplay has to be tight and perfect because you're going up against a very tough genre of games. And a lot of people who vie for that community, that wallets, that money, they want all of that. And so it'll be really interesting to see what they're going to do. But no, off the jump, Miles, this didn't look good. This didn't look like what I wanted at all. And it was kind of odd of like, man, I just don't think you read the room right here, but we'll see what they do. They clearly want to be in this space and they're going to try it again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, to your point about gameplay being king. If the game comes out and feels incredible, does some interesting dynamics, it will have an audience. For me, that was the selling point of Apex Legends. I personally thought Apex Legends looked incredibly generic. I was not interested in this. I trusted Respawn as a developer. They make great games that feel great. But looking at Apex Legends on paper, I was not sold, Mike. I was not sold in the slightest. But then I played it. I got my hands on it. The ping system, the running slide, all these elements that we weren't seeing in other battle royales, and I could look at Apex Legends and say, this is the best feeling battle royale that I've played. This blows PUBG away in terms of how great it feels to play. And so that, for me, and I think for a lot of people, solidified, the respect in the space. So I want to see, how X Defiant does if it's received well. Again, I'm going to try it. I don't write anything off completely until I've, at least gotten my hands on it to see what it is. But it was a little bit of a baffling reveal, I think. And I think a lot of people feel like you and I, Mike, where we don't get who this is for. And maybe it's not for us. Maybe I'm just an old boomer who doesn't get it. And, it's not for me. It's for the new young blood, and I'm just some old fart who doesn't understand what the youth wants, Mike.
You go back to playing Halo, you old head, okay? Me and my homies are out here crushing games in Fortnite. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll see, Miles. It will be very, very interesting to see. And, best of luck to them. We want to see everybody succeed. We want to see things do great. We want to play new games and have exciting new times with new games, right? But you are coming up the best of the best, right? And man, there's so many more first-person shooter games on the horizon. There's a lot of team arena games as well on the horizon, and you're going to have an uphill battle. I hope it really does well, but you know what? We'll find out, because I think they were promoting some sort of beta in August, weren't they? Like, you can get your hands on this pretty soon. So we're going to be at least trying it and giving them feedback, and that initial response will be key. I will say that, like, if in that first week when people try this, if people don't come out going, hey, it was actually pretty good, I can't wait to see what they build off of, then we're going to have a problem here. Because if they say anything different than that, you're going to be like, oh, we'll never see this in 6 months.
I've never been more fascinated in first impressions for a game, I don't think, than Tom Clancy's X Defiant. I really want to read and watch people's reaction to getting their hands on this game.
I know you have Siege, but like, make Rainbow Six Vegas again, or go and make Rainbow Six or Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter that we all grew up on and loved. Like, there's so many shooters that you could go look into, or stop doing this and go make Splinter Cell, right? It's funny, Miles. I've gotten back on the Splinter Cell hype train again, because me and one of the co-founders of Kind of Funny, each and every other week, we've been sitting down and watching old 80s action movies, right?
Yeah.
From Die Hard to Demolition Man to Tom Cruise over there and Top Gun, right? Roadhouse. And we watch all these movies, right? And you see a movie like Die Hard or Under Siege, and like there they are, like stealthing through a certain situation in a building. And I look over at them, I'm like, man, like, wouldn't Splinter Cell Die Hard be killer? Like, just imagine something like that. Like, why aren't they doing this? But no, I get X Defiant instead. So we're going to see what happens here. But I'm back on the Splinter Cell hype train for some apparent reason. I think it's all these old school 80s movies where I'm like, man, I could just imagine them building something like that and having some fun.
For me, I'm kind of indifferent on Splinter Cell. I like that it's not coming back, simply for the fact that it upsets Randall Thor. And so for me, that brings me a lot of joy. So
you just like seeing him uptight. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So if it comes back, cool. That'd be great. If it doesn't, I do get a little pleasure in it. I'm not going to lie to you, Mike.
I just want everybody to remember that we got a killer game at the beginning of the year, and please don't forget about it when we talk about Game of the Year and at the end of the year, your lists. Hitman 3 did come out this year, and Hitman 3 was incredible. If you haven't played Hitman 3 and you're listening to this podcast, go give it a try. Go play it. It's incredible. If you have Hitman 3, go play it again. Just don't forget about it come November and December when we talk about our Game of the Years, because that's one of those games, Miles, release window, timing, kind of game. Like, that game might just get the cold shoulder, which will be unfortunate, because that was a killer job by IO Interactive. Phenomenal
stealth game. Like, being able to kill someone with a banana. Amazing. Every time I threw an object at someone's head, I laughed. Like, it never got old. Throwing a wine bottle, throwing any object I could find at someone's face, never got old. And that's like the beauty of Hitman 3, is they went back to their roots of having this incredible sandbox and giving you the freedom to do whatever you wanted, which kind of got lost in some of the more recent Hitman games before the reboot, because they tried to go more narrative driven and more kind of like a cinematic. But really, where Hitman shines, where Splinter Cell shines, is those kind of sandbox experiences. And I think you bring up an excellent point. Hitman 3 hopefully doesn't get lost in the shuffle, but that is definitely a game of the year contender for all those, especially if you're a stealth fan.
Oh my god! And that Dartmoor mission, you got me thinking back of it. That Dartmoor mission, which essentially just knives out the movie into this video
Yes,
game, like
the murder
the way that
mystery.
they built off of like, oh, Hitman, right? Like Miles just described, go kill that man with a banana, take his clothes, throw his naked body off the side of the building. Like that's cool and all, but it's like, but what if we built off of that and we created a murder mystery within the game? It's like they did a really good job with what they did with that, and they've opened it up to the community for making fun levels and keeping that alive with like, the platform we like to put quote unquote on that. And so I look forward to hearing everybody's games of the year list and seeing where that goes. Because honestly, Miles, I'm gonna be real with you. I bet you 80% of the people we see put their lists out on Twitter and the big awards. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be sidelined. Like for some reason, I have that feeling that people will forget about it and they'll be locked up in what they recently played, and it will just be on the sideline, which will be too bad.
Yeah, you're probably right, because let's be real. Like there have been several incredible games that have launched after Hitman 3, and based on what's coming out for the rest of the year, there's probably several more that are in the game of the year conversations. So, yeah, the timing for Hitman 3 very very unfortunate, I think.
So cool though. All right, keep it going. What you got next?
Super chat from Poochie here says, "What's poppin', Miles and Mike, or is it Mike and Miles? Either way, the Ascent is next week. Let's freaking go." Also, free Squirtle. we're gonna be talking about Pokemon Unite.
Oh,
we're gonna be talking about Pokemon.
Poochie, we're gonna talk about that, and it can be Mike and Miles. It can be Miles and Mike, however you like it. Because Miles freaking rocks, and I'll be here anytime Miles needs me, and vice versa. So always, Poochie. Thanks for that, and yeah, when we talk about that, Miles, I'm very excited because free Squirtle. We're gonna talk about that. What's up with Squirtle, bro?
I know we're gonna get before. I want to get to one or two more things before that, because we'll probably talk about Pokemon for way longer than anyone should. But Pokemon Unite is fire, to preface that before we do. But speaking of amazing first person shooters that are on the horizon, Battlefield 2042 and this Portal system. Wow. I was not expecting that. Like, Battlefield 2042 already looks bonkers with the core game, with the futuristic stuff, with your giant tornadoes, your ice storms, all these ridiculous weather dynamics. That already looked way over the top. And then they say, guess what? You can play maps from Battlefield Bad Company. You can play maps from Battlefield 1942. And they're just saying, you know what? Here, make your ridiculous Battlefield fantasies come true. We're going to give you this sandbox, and you can just go absolutely wild with anything that's ever existed in a Battlefield game. So for me, as someone who was already sold on Battlefield 2042, even if none of that stuff was included, I was ready, day one, to get down on Battlefield 2042. This, to me, shows that they want Battlefield 2042 to have a huge community and a huge tail. So, Mike, Battlefield Portal, what are your thoughts on that?
I am Miles 50-50 on it. Personally, truly, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not excited by it. I'm going to totally skip this whole portion of the game. But on the flip side, when I look at it from a different point of view and not just my own eyes, and I look at it of like a business side and a gamer side, this is the exact right thing to do for this team. We think of Halo Forge, and we think of all the fun we've had in different Forge maps, right? And now you get to do that in Halo, and or Battlefield. And it's really exciting to see, 3 games: Battlefield 3, 1942, and Bad Company 2, along with Battlefield 2042. So it's technically 4 with all the maps that you could build off of, from guns, vehicles, gameplay. And it's like, it is the right thing, Miles. When I was looking at that from the early reveal to where we are now, they brought up 3 game modes, right? They brought up All Out Warfare, which we know and love. There's a Hazard Zone, which we still have no idea which it was. And then the third one, recently, before we got announced to it, I was indifferent, right? I'm a Battle Royale type of guy. I really wanted Battle Royale. I think that's the hot, hip thing. I know people are so divided when you say Battle Royales, but that's what I wanted, right? And so when you look at it, and they announced this for, the newly formed or newly named Ripple Effect, aka Dice LA, I thought it was really cool. I think this is the right thing to do, right? Like you said, this is a sandbox game. This is the massive multiplayer first-person shooter sandbox, right? You can do anything you want, anywhere you want. And why wouldn't I create in the sandbox, right? If I'm going to play in the sandbox, let's create in the sandbox. And so it goes hand in hand. It's so right. And I'm excited to see what people build. But to me, Miles, like, I don't have that kind of mind, right? I'm not that kind of gamer who is built that way, right? I don't think of games like that where I want to build stuff. I don't have the time to build stuff. Not like I don't have the time, but I choose not to spend my time building stuff. Like, I'd rather just jump in and play. So now I'm one of the gamers that relies on the community, right? I need you, Miles, to build the dopest infection mode. I need my good friend Joanna Dark to build the dopest online battle royale you can build in this game, right? Like, I need now people to create dope stuff. And my worry always with this stuff is, Miles, right? There will be one or two, and yeah, I know that's stretching, but there will be a lot of people who create really dope stuff, and then there'll be people who create mediocre stuff, and then there'll be people who don't create stuff, right? And so the longevity for me is I'm a little more worried on that. I know there will be stuff probably down the line, but like, how much stuff? And will it be actually engaging and worthwhile? How many times will me and my friends truly go click on that third tile as opposed to the other two? It's going to be tough to tell, but it's the right move, right? We're going to play in the sandbox, let people build in the sandbox. And there's a lot of cool stuff too, Miles. Like, I got to go behind closed doors and see the preview before they put it out there. And like, the guys and gals were talking about, hey, like, if you have a fun idea on the bus or at work, like, you can literally open up the portal on your phone or on a website on the computer and start building from there, right? You don't have to technically be in the game, which I was like, well, that's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Create anywhere. What a great idea. And so to see the fun ideas and also to see how in depth he went, right? Like, I thought, like, oh, you're just going to split two teams and do whatever. No, like, you can pick the balance of the teams. You can pick the different health. You can pick the guns and the settings of the teams. You can pick everything and have it mix and match. And like, that's very impressive. And to think that that's all going to work together flawlessly and, in this crazy world, good for them. Good for them, because it's very exciting. But this is totally not for me as the issue, Miles. Just not for me.
Yeah, I think your comparison with Forge is excellent for me personally. I didn't play a lot of Forge. I know people loved Forge, and Forge was huge, but I was more like you. I would play the core gameplay modes, and then every once in a while, like, let's see what people are doing. Let's look at the ridiculous community-made games, and we would just have a night where we would just go through and like look at the top rated, look at the lowest rated, and just run the gauntlet of all the wild and ridiculous community creations. And again, it was a mixed bag of just amazing, well-designed stuff to just terrible stuff. But that was kind of the fun of it, is just having this completely, free experience outside of the quote unquote core game to dick around with. Because again, it's not gonna be the main thing I play. I'm gonna be playing the core modes way more than I'm playing this. But the fact that that exists and I can dabble with that, I think is a huge kind of way to support and ensure the community of this game stays engaged with Battlefield 2042. Because again, there's been questions about the monetization and, in this day and age and how they're going to approach that. And I think by them, including this additional mode, this is like this is a platform now. This isn't just Battlefield 2042 and the next year we're going to sell you a different Battlefield. This is them saying, hey, we are going to have this around for a while and we want you to play this for a while. So even if, fundamentally Portal isn't something I play the most, it gives me a little more confidence in the future of Battlefield 2042, I guess.
It's really interesting, Miles, because at the reveal, we all had the same conversation. $70 for an online multiplayer only game. Is this going to be worth it? Is this too much? Why isn't it free to play? Why isn't it on Game Pass? Am I going to buy this when I have Halo is now free to play? You have the Call of Duties who are running rampant around the world, owning things in that space, right? Like, where does Battlefield fit in? And I look at it and I'm like, Battlefield is Battlefield. If you like Battlefield like myself and Miles, you're going to buy it, right? You love that open world sandbox. You love going wild. And so you start to add up what goes into this $70 purchase. All Out Warfare that you know and love, which is great. And then two other modes, which, we don't know the middle one. Now we know is a builder essentially in Portal. And I think that's one of those of like, is that a piece of the $70 worth it to you? And for me, it's just like, man, that is a really cool tool. And that's a fun tool. And so it makes it feel better for the $70 purchase. But it is interesting to see that constant conversation of $70 online multiplayer only. Where do you fall on that? Because it's so interesting. Battlefield coming at it with a different approach, but Portal as a platform and as a tool definitely is pretty interesting, right? You think of Dreams over on the PlayStation side and how that has a really lasting community and still alive. Project Spark with my guy Conker's Bad Fur Day didn't do well, right? Conker and Project Spark didn't really hit the nail on the head right there. And so when you talk about these create your own game type games, it's very tough because you take the audience, right, of the first person shooter landscape, and then you minimize it to the maximum for like who actually is going to build within this, right? And so those guys and gals have to build something incredible and have fun to really make it worthwhile because 90% of that audience will not touch Portal like that in the way it's supposed to be touched.
Yeah, it is a huge investment. Like I used to be really into Little Big Planet. Like not only playing it, but I was going deep and I was spending days, Mike, days and days and days of my life making stages for Little Big Planet 2 especially and uploading those online. And
You're wild.
dude,
You're
it was a
wild.
blast. Like it was such a cool experience and like having that creative freedom and then like, going online and checking out other people's stages and getting new ideas like, "Oh, that's cool. Like I like what they did there. Let me like try to incorporate that in my stage." And there was this kind of, creative dynamic to it. But that being said, at a certain point I was like, why am I doing this? Like I could just be playing any other game. I'm spending hundreds of hours making Little Big Planet stages. Maybe I should move on to something else. So again, it's not for everyone and it is a huge investment. But there will be those people like me who are like, I'm doing it. I'm going all in. I'm making this ridiculous Halloween Town Nightmare Before Christmas theme stage in Battlefield 2042 and I'm doing it. I'm spending all the time to do it. And maybe it'll suck, but I don't care. I'm trying it. So I commend Battlefield for that. And like you said, I think that adds more value to this package and maybe alleviates some people's concerns of like, is this worth $70? Because like you said, that is a real conversation happening because you look at Call of Duty Warzone and that is humongous and that has ongoing support. They're adding new stuff to it constantly and that's free. You can download that, you can play that, and that is free. So Battlefield's going to be in a tough position with sandwiched between Halo and Call of Duty, who you can play those for free. You can enjoy those without spending a dime. And there will be people who only play the multiplayer for Halo. No questions there. So Battlefield is in the opposite camp right now. And it will be interesting to see how that plays out, especially this holiday season with a new Call of Duty, with a Halo and a Battlefield dropping all in the same year. The titans of the FPS industry are clashing this holiday season.
Isn't it an exciting storyline?
It is.
And you're forgetting one thing. X Defiant is also free to play, so don't forget about X Defiant. Okay, get punkified, bro. Get punkified. You're forgetting about another big free to play title, X Defiant.
You're right. You can't say titans of the FPS industry without mentioning X Defiant.
Ubisoft and X Defiant. I will say, Miles. I was giving you the face because I'm trying to remember when it comes to these like Forge and creator-led games. I think there was a team at one point who was like supporting the creators and maybe paying them for their ideas and like what they've created, right? Like, how do you incentivize people to continue to create years down the line? How do you incentivize people that, create something so special that everybody wants to play it over on this Battlefield portal? And I think that's one thing I think about as well, right? It's like you spending all your time on Little Big Planet and then going, what the hell am I doing, right? What if you were doing all that and like only 2 people ever played your little, game mode, right? And it never rose to the top or like it never got the love that it deserves. How do you incentivize those human beings doing that and in a fun way, right? Because I look around and I'm like, I thought somebody was like paying people at one idea or like maybe they were doing something different, but like, how do you incentivize people to continue to build on Battlefield Portal 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line to keep that alive? Like you said, right? If that's going to be the platform, there better not be the same 10 game modes because everybody gave up creating down the line,
Yeah, you bring up an excellent point, and I think it's going to take a lot of community-focused work to make people invested in that. You're going to have to do community challenges, make a stage with these requirements, and we're going to feature the best stage on the dashboard. So when you boot up Battlefield 2042, your stage is there. If it's the best, if the community decides it's the best, if we decide it's the best, boom, right there, you are going to be featured. And stuff like that, as simple as it is, that means a lot to a lot of people. Because if you think, about a creator, somebody who's just on Battlefield, wants to make a stage, and they get their stage and the gamer tag featured on Battlefield's homepage, that's a big deal for people. And that's going to be like, hey, look at me. And that's going to encourage people to try try to compete in when it comes to these community challenges and making stages. And I think that's the best way to do it is, make sure that that is in the conversations. Make sure you are letting people know that there are cool, fun stages. So when you're on the main screen, even if you're not diving into this third portal mode, you get some sort of like indication of like, look at what so-and-so did. Look at this ridiculous community made mode. Check it out. And then maybe someone who's never tried Portal opens it up and say, oh, wow, this is what Portal is. Let me see what else is out there. And I think that's the best way to go about it. And I think
It's exciting, Miles.
to your point, was it Dreams? Was Dreams paying people? I remember there was a creative platform where, people were like, you could have a game published or something, maybe potentially within Dreams. Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Somebody in the comments will, because there was somebody who was incentivizing people to create in a different way than just, hey, you're out there, figure it out. You know what I mean? Like they were doing something to get people riled up to go out there and create some more. So I look forward to seeing in the comments who will get us. I can't wait.
So, final topic today, Mike, and probably one that's going to be the biggest. And I know this is an Xbox show, and I know we focus on Xbox, but you and I, we both love gaming. We play the games wherever they are, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and a game that has pulled me away from Death's Door. I thought I was going to finish Death's Door in one day because I beat most of that game in a single sitting. I was sucked in. And then Pokemon Unite drops. And I will be 100% honest with you and everyone here. I thought Pokemon Unite was going to be a disaster. I thought Pokemon Unite was going to be a fundamentally awful looking, awful feeling, cheap attempt at a Pokemon MOBA, and it was going to be a total disgusting cash grab. And here I am, Mike. A few days later, I think 13 hours in. I put 13 hours into Pokemon Unite within a few days, and I can't stop thinking about it. Like as soon as I finish this podcast, I'm going to go drive over to a friend's house, and we are going to sit on his couch, and we're going to play Pokemon Unite and crush some brewskis on this fine Saturday. So,
woo!
Pokemon Unite, Mike, against all odds, is amazing. And I know before the show we talked about this a little bit, but how are you feeling about what Nintendo and Tencent have done with Pokemon Unite?
They got a little hit on their hands, Miles. Plain and simple, to keep it easy for everyone. This team over there has a big hit on their hands, and this could be a ton of fun for a lot of people if it gets a lot of love. I mean, I'm impressed. I am 40 games in after its 48-hour window of release. I've played 40 plus games, and I cannot stop playing. And I'm really impressed with what they did. Like you said, right? I'm actually I'm a MOBA fan, and I've played MOBA a long time, right? I was big into League of Legends. I have sank a lot of time into that, into Dota, into Heroes of the Storm, into Smite. There was even a game on your mobile that I forget the heck the name was, but we played a lot of MOBA on mobile. And so when you try to go into that arena, right, we've seen some try and some come in and fail. I think there was a Lord of the Rings MOBA on your Xbox 360, if you remember, folks, that I've played before. And so a lot of people try these, and a lot of people don't succeed because it is, a big, really tough spot to get into. But somehow they made this work, Miles, and I'm truly blown away, right? When you look at what they've created, the look fits the Nintendo Switch and somehow like looks better than a Mario Golf, to be honest with you. Like it just looks better. And then, of course, when you go into it, the music hits so well, right? They have just this fun music and like this killer riff right when it hits go. Like it just hits you with this riff, and you're like, all right, well, it's game time now,
Feeling that.
All of the characters, and yes, they're going to have some balancing and some tweaks, but like each character is unique. Each character is fun. I love seeing certain characters evolve throughout the game. I think that was really well done and really cool to see. I love that there's multiple options on your move sets, right? Like you're not a League of Legends where it's, hey, here's your 3 moves in your ultimate and you just power them up. It's like, hey, here's 2 moves for each one. Pick how you want to play and play your different play style, right? Because we're going to play this game a lot. You're going to probably find a special character you like, but it's cool. Every other game, I like to just switch off the moves to learn them and see which ones I really like. And I love having that option, and each and every character has that option, right? It's not just one character that has different move sets. They all do, right? And it is pretty funny. They have a little mini jungle that you can get into, Miles, right?
Yeah.
And like right now I'm the jungler for the team, and I love feeling like we're playing League of Legends, but we're not, right? This is a short 10-minute game. It's fun with Pokemon. It's easy to get your friends into, and it's really cool of like it has the fundamentals of a MOBA. Here's the lanes, here's the jungle, do what you need to do with the towers, push forward and play. But they have a fun little spin on it all, right? I love that the towers, Miles, don't attack you. You know what I mean? They're technically like a basketball hoop you dunk in there. And I
Yes.
like that on the opposite
Yes.
side. Yeah, it's not a tower when you're defending, but it gives you a shield. You also have a little bit of health packs behind you. And it's like this kind of cat and mouse game of like, oh, you're getting low, hit your tower for the shield, then go get a health pack, come back into the fight, and it goes back and forth. But man, from the jungle minions in there to the minions on the side to the gameplay to the Zapdos in the middle that will truly dictate the game if you're really aware of it. There is so much to this, Miles, that we're going to talk about a lot of. This is a hit.
This is a hit, Mike. This is again, there's Xbox fans who don't care about Nintendo, who don't care about Pokemon. That's fine. But if you've played MOBAs, if you've ever liked a MOBA, you need to check this out because what's most impressive to me as someone who's played Smite, I think 30 days of playtime in Smite.
Ooh.
I've played dozens and dozens of hours of League of Legends. I played probably 100 hours of that Lord of the Rings MOBA on Xbox 360. I play every MOBA. I love MOBAs. I'm a big MOBA nerd. And what I love most about Pokemon Unite is they took the fundamental concept of a MOBA, like you mentioned, with the lanes, with the jungle, with the towers, but they made it feel genuinely Pokemon. Like from like you mentioned, the alternative moves, I think is one of the most interesting dynamics of a match is you can pick a Pokemon, but every single time you play, you can change what your moves are. And so that means you can change how you play that character. So if you're going against someone who's maybe a good counter to how you normally play, you can say, all right, I'm gonna have to change out this move for this move to be able to, have my Mr. Mime succeed against this Charizard. Because normally I play Mr. Mime this way. I put up the wall, I slam him into the wall. But we got Charizard who can fly above my wall, so now I gotta have the grab. I grab him and slam him, that's a stun. I get my boy in his hoodie, his gangster Pikachu outfit to come in and dunk on him while he's stunned. And we shut down Charizard because I changed the way I play that character. And that, to me, as someone who loves MOBAs, is a really cool, uniquely Pokemon dynamic. Usually MOBAs also have a gear system. Like you go in, as you progress, you buy equipment and gear. This simplifies that. So matches are shorter. There's no gear system in the game, but in a very, very Pokemon way, you have held items. So before a match, you can customize the gear that you bring into a match, which is another really interesting dynamic in the MOBA space, because normally everyone starts on a blank canvas, empty slate, and then you buy whatever gear you want, and that kind of dictates the match. But this, you have to kind of think about your strategy and how that Pokemon plays before you even start. Similar to, if you're a fool like me who's gone down the competitive traditional Pokemon rabbit hole, where held items are the deciding factor on how your team succeeds. And that's the same in this. And I've only unlocked a few of them, but I'm so excited to kind of continue to unlock these and see how they change the dynamic of all the characters. Pokemon Unite, Mike, and everyone here, if you're listening, if you have any passing interest in MOBAs, or if you've never played a MOBA, I think this is a great entry point as well, because it's easy to pick up, easy to understand. It's got that Super Smash Bros. Mentality where everybody controls the same, but everybody has special moves that are different. So fundamentally, once you understand the controls of one character, you understand the controls of everyone. And then it's just about learning those little nuances. So, oh, dude, Pokemon Unite.
It's the perfect gateway for your friends or family members who have never seen or tried a MOBA because it's so short, like you said, Miles. It's easy to grasp. The moment you see the Pokemon, you're happy. You know exactly what world you're in. And as well, they came out the gate with like 20 Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like there's a large lineup here that you can play and try, which is going to keep you coming back and trying new characters. It's a hit. And, we are on an Xbox podcast, but I'm going to put it plain and simple, Miles. If I was Xbox, if I was Phil, I'd be on the phone and I'd be like, how do I put this over here? Like, get this over on my console because this is great. And this is a ton of fun. I want this over here right now, right? Because it is a ton of fun. And I want to bring in, I don't want to call it the negatives, but a couple of critiques here is like the UI is a mess, right? There's just so much going on in that interface. There's so many different menus you have to open up. There's so many red dots on your screen. because you're constantly unlocking things. And yeah, it is fun because you're constantly opening things up, unlocking things, and you're feeling rewarded for playing. But like with the Nintendo Switch and the power of that online service, it kind of chugs a lot when you're
Yep.
trying to do all this and that. And like, yeah, that's a negative. But when it comes to gameplay, it's tight, it's fun, right? And you got to remember, we're on the Nintendo online service. So I would say the game runs very well, but there's definitely moments where you have the gigantic team fights and it has this beautiful little dumb FPS counter for no apparent reason. It doesn't need that. It shouldn't have that because it doesn't look good on the screen. Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm trying to hit 60 frames, Mike. And I'm like, you're doing it, Switch. You're going to freaking do it, baby. And it's like, okay, actually, I can only do 55. And I'm like, that's fine. Stick at 55. And we go into these team fights and it's like, oh, here's 20, Mike. Here's 15. I'm freaking out. And so it's just not that strong of a thing, but it does play so well and it has a great time, great gameplay. And it's just like, that's a great game. And I am truly blown away, like you said, Miles, coming hot off of Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Brush Your Teeth, right? Pokemon this and that. I saw that and I was like, this will never be good. There's no way in hell you're going to sell anybody on this. And sure it can be. I'm going to eat all of my words because that is free to play. I have spent more time than I should over the past 48 hours on it. And I'm still thinking about it. Like Miles, right? I'm literally going to grab my Switch. I'm going to call up all of my friends and we're going to play that, right? We're going to play that right now because it's that good. And so, yeah, this is a fun game, and this is well worth your time to check it out over the weekend. If you've never played MOBAs or if you've had, you should check this out and try it because it's cool as can be. And man, Miles, I think of all the characters, right? Let's talk about that free Blastoise statement for a minute over there. It's like they chose some interesting characters, right? And I'm a 151 purist, right? And I love saying that. And I'm also the guy who like mispronounces all the Pokemon. So if you're gonna get cringe or you're gonna get uptight at me, get ready because I'm gonna mispronounce all of your favorite Pokemon names here in a moment. And I get great joy out of that. So get ready. But it is interesting to see the lineup they chose, right? Of like, there's the ones iconic that you remember and know and love. And then there's these other ones where I'm like, I don't know any of these jabronis. You know what I mean? Here's an electric mouse, Zorvon. I don't know who he is, but I'm freaking dominating against him right now, you know?
Oh, dude, it's so good because I've been playing with a friend group, and we have a couple of us who are hardcore into Pokemon, play all the Pokemon, and then we have a few who, like you, have played maybe the first few generations of Pokemon, fell off, and they're like, "Who is this? Who is this? Who is this gull with a fish in its mouth? Who is this crab with a sandwich on its back?" And I'm just like,
Yes.
and I just love it because it is an eclectic blend. You have your obvious choice, your Charizards, your Venusaurs.
Yep.
Squirtle is on the cover art of this game, but not in it right now, which is confusing. So it's probably only a matter of time. Maybe Squirtle is just too overpowered, too dominating, and they have to scale him back, which that's the only thing that makes sense to me. But then you have your Crustle, which is this weird little crab that has like a big boulder on its back. You have your Mr. Mimes, just one of my favorite weird Pokemon. Like, nobody loves Mr. Mime. I love Mr. Mime. But
nobody loves
seeing Mr. Mime as one of the like launch rosters, I'm like, let's go. They're not afraid to like look at what the Pokemon is, look at its moves, and say, you know what? Maybe this isn't the most everyone's favorite Pokemon, but this Pokemon would have a cool move set. So we're gonna do that. So seeing that launch lineup makes me feel like, okay, this team understands Pokemon. It's not about like, okay, all the obvious choices are here and that's it. We're going to start with all the most favorite. You got Cramorant, which, like I mentioned, is a gull with a bird in its mouth. Most people have no idea who that stupid looking Pokemon is. Like, but seeing that.
But he rocks.
Oh,
he rocks in this game, bro. Oh my God. He is. There's a couple of them, Miles, like I said, like they're going to have a lot of balancing discussions here after this first week, but like he's powerful. Aloha Ninetales. That's one of those of like, they even brought in the other forms of these different Pokemon as well. And it's like, whoo, they did a great job because there's some wild ones in there. Snorlax is in there, of course. They even have the microtransactions, right? And I know you can feel this way or the other way, but like for a free game, they did a good job of being like, hey, we got a battle pass. Hey, we got a storefront like League of Legends where we'll sell you cosmetic items if you want to make your trainer look cool, which you don't even see your trainer besides the main menu. So there's no reason to upgrade him, but I have to upgrade my trainer because I got to look dope. And then you can buy the Pokemon cosmetics. There's a lot to go into that. That makes it a really good time.
They suck. I bought the battle pass. They sucked me. They
Yeah, oh,
got
yeah.
they got me. Seeing all the Pokemon drip because you can customize your trainer, and a lot of the customer or trainer customization stuff is just stupid, just awful, dumb looking, terrible. But some of the outfits they have for the Pokemon are just fire, and I'm like, you got me. I'm gonna grind this stupid battle pass so I can get the flaming soccer bunny that's wearing a pirate outfit. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna
You have to have it.
I'm buying the battle pass for that. So they got me. But what I want to know, Mike, is who are you maining right now? Who are you maining in Pokemon Unite?
So I am currently the jungle of the team. So I'm looking at more of the speedster roster for me. So
Okay.
there's 4 speedsters in that category. So right now I'll give you the list from top to bottom of who I'm maining. Of course, I am the electric mouse, Zorvon. And yes, I know I'm mispronouncing it, so get ready for that. So the mouse is unbelievable. And then after that, I drop down into the hawk, which is Talonflame, which is very good, but a bad ultimate, to be honest with you. But other than that, a very strong character. Then third would be Absol, the dog with the horn on its face. And then fourth right now is Gengar, Miles. I just can't get a good grasp on Gengar. I just don't think when you look at that foursome there that he's the guy that I want to go with, especially with how dominant those top 2 are. But I have tried all 4. That's my ranking for them. And then when I go into laning phase, when I switch out of the jungle, I play as 2 right now. It's Ninetales, which is absurdly broken right now. Just absolutely broken, Miles. And then Camarant, who is also broken once you get him fed up and stuff. So I got, thankfully, I have a fair amount. I'm playing just as the speedsters right now in the jungle. But man, 6 so far. I've played as about 10. I think I've tried them all. I've tried as many as I could. But I'm sticking as those. What about you? Who you liking?
So I've been doing a lot of like defense, tanks, and support. So started with Snorlax, was dominating as Snorlax. Snorlax
Solid.
is
He's a solid
beast.
pick, Miles.
He just sits there, lays on his back, and gets slapped around, wakes up, and then just dominates people. So I've been crushing with Snorlax. But Crustle, dude. Crustle probably is broken. The crab is probably broken because you have this move where you put up a rock wall and you can trap people in or you can block people off. And then you have a move where if you hit people into the wall, they take increased damage. So I trap them in, smash them against the wall, and they're already almost dead by that point. I think it was 7 matches in a row, night before last, where I played as the crab. I was MVP as the defense character 7 times in a row. Most kills every single time as this tanky crab, and it felt amazing. Like, it probably shouldn't be that way, and I feel like they'll probably tweak that character a little bit, because not only are you tanky, not only can you get slapped around, but you can deal damage. So that crab, don't change a thing. Don't change a thing.
Yep.
Mr. Mime. Like, I tried Mr. Mime the first few times, and I sucked. I was like, this dude sucks. I spent my 6,000 coins on Mr. Mime, and he sucks. This is stupid. I was so annoyed. And then I took the time to read, which, everyone should do that because there's a break.
I'm that guy, Miles, where I don't read anything, right? I do my best I personally make a choice in my life not to read anything you put on the screen, and then I get mad at the game, like, what the hell's going on here? Why don't I know anything? And it's like, Mike, why don't you take 5 minutes and read what the character actually does? Oh, okay, now I figured out the game,
Yeah, so I played Mr. Mime a few times and didn't understand the moves. I'm like, I don't get these moves. These moves are dumb. And then I read how you chain them together, and I was like, oh no. Mr. Mime he's nasty. So he has a wall, and if you hit anyone into the wall, they're stunned. He has a grab. If you hit anyone while they're grabbed, they're stunned. So Mr. Mime is just stunning people to death constantly. And you cannot run because while you're grabbed, he has this like chain grab where he grabs you. It boosts my speed and reduces their speed. So I'm coming, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. If you don't have a homie there with you to save your ass, you're gone. So Mr. Mime, so good. I'm incredibly impressed by how different every character feels right now as well, which is a key component of a great MOBA.
That's what I want to bring up as well really quick, Miles, is every time you play, it is the exact MOBA mentality where on the other team, it's a character you've never seen, and they absolutely dominate you, and the first words out of all of your friends' faces are like, that guy's broken. That guy, I hate that guy. And then, like, of course, you have to try him the next game and see what's up. And, like, it has that loop where every single time you play, you look at the opposing team's roster, one kid's pops off, you're like, no, that's broken. And then you play as him and you're like, this is a ton of fun. Figure out his combos. This is great. And so they've done a good job, at every single character feels unique, and every character can pop off essentially if you know what you're doing and have some fun with it. And man, it is great. It is really cool. And I want to give a shout out to the evolutions once again, right? You have Wigglytuff in there, and like the evolution going up into that. You got Charizard, where it's like he starts as Charmander and then evolves into Charizard during the game, right? Like that is so cool to see. And I love when you start, everybody's like this little tiny Pokemon, right? And then you start to slowly build up and get to big and big until it's game time, which is cool. Before I let you get away from this and we start to wrap up, we got to talk about the Zapdos really quick, because the Zapdos seems to be like make or break, right? That happens in the final 2-minute window. It comes up at 2 minutes, it appears, and it gives you more points and more dominant speed than you could ever imagine, Miles. And it feels like there's a lot of games where maybe my team will dominate the early game, but if you don't win that Zapdos, it feels like the game can just be thrown away, which is like good and bad, right? We've had moments where we stole and we totally won, and then there's games where we dominate and get stolen from, and it's like, yo, that sucked, right? And so I want to know from you, who's also playing this, like, how do you feel about that? Is that the right move? Is that the wrong move? Where do you fall on that Zapdos grab?
I think it's an incredibly interesting dynamic, because to set it up for people who don't understand like the way that the tower system differs from other MOBAs is you have wild Pokemon. You kill the wild Pokemon and you get X number of Pokeballs for killing them, and you carry them on you. So you have to go to the enemy team and literally slam dunk. And I love that every Pokemon has a unique like slam dunk animation, and when you get 4 of your homies together all dunking on a ring at the same time, it just feels really good. So there's this risk reward, so you have to carry those. You can't be hit while you're dunking it. So if someone hits you at all, it stops this like timer that is required for a dunk. So if someone kills you, they take most of the stuff you were carrying, and now they can go turn it into your goal. So there's an interesting dynamic there. In the final 2 minutes, like you said, Zapdos appears. Zapdos, if your team defeats him, all of the enemy team's rings are defenseless, which means there's no timer for the dunk. You go up and you instantly dunk, and you get double points. So it can really swing a match in a huge way. So you have those kind of like epic comeback, like streamer moments, like constantly on this, where, like you said, your team has been dominating. You've been rocking this team hard the entire time. They have a power play. They wipe your squad at Zapdos. They kill Zapdos. They take all your balls and they dunk on you in the last 2 minutes and take the win. And again, I've had it both ways. And sometimes it feels really good and you're like, yeah, we did it. We crushed them. And then again, sometimes you're on the receiving end of it. I've had a lot of W's, but I had a match, and it feels bad to admit this, Mike, but I had a match where my team had 152 points, and the enemy team had 1,057.
You got dunked on.
We got dunked on, absolutely devastated in a way I've never been devastated in a game ever, and it didn't feel good. But that's what I love about those final 2 minutes, is they can shape everything. So I think it's an interesting dynamic, but balancing maybe needs to be tweaked with some characters and stuff. But we'll see how that evolves over time.
It like feels like you're at like the ground floor right now, right? And it's just like, yo, get it while it's good before they balance and tweak everything, right? Like just go wild right now. I need you to be Ninetales, like get 17 kills. You play as your favorite character, just dominate. Like get in before they change this game up completely.
Dude, it's and like you mentioned, like you have those matches where you see somebody dominating and you're like, this character's broken. I don't get it. This character is just destroying me. You load in, you play as that character, you get absolutely bodied. You get wrecked, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe this character isn't broken. Maybe that person was just good at the game. You have those humbling moments where you realize, maybe someone isn't broken. Maybe I just need to like take some time, learn the ropes, and become that edgelord that everyone thinks is broken.
It is plain simple a must play. Go check it out. It's a must play from my point of view.
Oh yeah, must play. Again, thanks to everyone who bared with. I know this is an Xbox show. I saw some people complaining about the Pokemon chat, but Pokemon's just a part of my life. Okay,
we gotta talk about these hot games right now, Miles,
exactly.
because We're in summer right now, and this is known as kind of the slower, dry season. And you can see it's about to pick up in the coming weeks, right? And we're going to get into holidays. But like, man, when you have these small releases that become standout stars, right? It's like you got to play these. You
Yeah.
got to give them a try. You got to have fun, you know?
And like you said earlier, if this was on Xbox, that would be a fantasy. If I could play Pokemon Unite on my Series X, I don't know why it would ever happen, but if I could,
Oh,
oh Lord.
it feels like Fall Guys last year, where you're playing Fall Guys on PC and you're like, man, I really wish this was on my Xbox right now. You know, and it's like one of those games where you just wish it was over on your home console where all of your friends are, where you could play it. You know what I mean? It's just like these are one of those games where I look around and I'm like, man, I wish this was on my Xbox because I freaking love this game right now.
Fall Guys. Yeah, maybe one day. But I'm gonna
Fall
get to
Where are you, Fall Guys? What are we doing?
Fall Guys
This
and
should have
Among Us.
been-
Like, what is like these games are gonna be like so
It's just gone. It's odd, Miles, because I'm a huge Fall Guys guy, and you know that, right? Like last year was one of my top 5 games of the year. I freaking loved Fall Guys. I have like 400 hours in Fall Guys over on Steam. I've put in work on Fall Guys, and it's weird. Come season 4 recently, where they took it to the future, I think that's when I started to slowly fall off. And it was funny. Season 5 just released, which I played earlier in the week, which is great. The great updates. But it was weird of like in the middle of season 4 to season 5, I completely stopped playing Fall Guys. And it was one of those of like that hype train is slowly slowing down, right? There's still a player base and it will get a nice boost on Xbox, but like we've missed the mark, right?
Yeah.
That was one of those catch fire. Here's your moment. This is the year. And for some reason, it's just like, yeah, we'll bring it to Xbox. And then we look around and it's like, are we going to bring it to Xbox eventually? Because we've missed it. You know, just so everybody knows we've missed it.
That you're right, and I've complained about this publicly with several games, Fall Guys and Among Us being two of these big cultural moments, these big cultural phenomenons where everyone's playing it. And if you're only on Xbox, like if Xbox is your one platform, you're just missing this, and it sucks because, again, I'm not saying Fall Guys is dead or whatever, because it's probably doing fine. There's probably a lot of people playing it, but realistically, if you're an Xbox player and that's where you prefer to play, you did miss like this moment in gaming history. It's gone, and sure we'll be able to play it at some point, but it's not going to be the same experience where everyone you know is playing this game and talking about this game. And again, Xbox has been doing a good job, but I do wonder how they missed these two big cultural games back to back. And again, it could be aggressive, moves from like place, because we know, I think Fall Guys, there was just exclusivity, like a year of exclusivity with Fall Guys, which again sucks. It sucks because now we're gonna get it and we're not gonna care as much, I think.
Yes, well, it's a funny one. It's like you would love to be a fly on the wall in that leadership boardroom, right? Where they bring out the contracts of like, here's the exclusivity over here, or hey, we can beat this team to exclusivity here, or like, hey, this is how long it's gonna be. Maybe we don't come right off the bat with it because whatever, It's like there's a lot of conversations to be had that are much higher than me and Miles, just wanting a game and praying for it. But like, it would always be fun to be in the room listening to the conversation of do not. Oh, we got to fight for this one. Nah, skip this one. I don't care about that. Like, there's a lot that goes into that, and you'd love to hear the conversations for sure.
Yeah, like I wonder, maybe was there a conversation where Fall Guys talked to Xbox and said, "Hey, do you want this?" And I'm not saying this happened because I have no idea, but imagine the conversation where Xbox is like, "Nah, we're okay for now," and then having this game just blow up in this way. Again, I don't know that that's the reality, but it would be interesting to hear how all those deals play out.
Yeah.
Couple super chats I'm going to get to before we wrap this up. Harjeet Chani says, "What would drive Call of Duty players to Battlefield or Halo? Is there something Call of Duty does that the others don't? Just curious if there is any COD fatigue." So, Mike, in your eyes, does Call of Duty have this secret sauce that Battlefield and Halo don't have?
It has the best gunplay out of all of them. And I know that will be a shock to some, and like the comments might light me up, but like it truly and honestly has the best gunplay out of all of them, right? The movement speed, the feel of it, it sets the tone for all first-person shooters, right? Call of Duty is always the standard, and others try to get to it, right? The catch is if you've played Call of Duty, like me and Miles and all of you have, right? There comes a point in your gaming lifestyle where you are at the tippity top, dominating people, and then there's the decline where Timmy and Tommy are dominating you. And that was the big moment for me that shifted my tone towards Battlefield, right? Because I got bored of the 6v6. We're in the team arena. That kid is dominating me. I'm getting shot, and I restart, and I call of rage, is what we used to call it. And I switched to Battlefield because I wanted to experience this big open world sandbox. I wanted to experience all out warfare with 32 on 32 at the time and seeing what that experience was, right? Battlefield has its drawbacks as well, right? You feel like a small piece in this giant cog of a machine that you don't really feel like you can take over or have an impact on the game, right? You have a really good squad, you might be able to leave a small impact on it, but truly and honestly, you, one person, have no impact on that Battlefield game. You're just kind of running mindlessly. You're getting sniped from a kid that you can't see across the map, right? And then Halo has the lineage, right? Halo is one of the first ever first person shooters to absolutely blow up. It has a cool sci-fi setting that you know and love. It has characters that you identify with, and that's just always been there, right? But for me, Call of Duty just has the tightest, best gunplay, and that's why people attach onto it, and they come at you year after year with just release after release that you have to play and keep up on, and it has the big mind share. But Halo has all the Xbox fans. It will always be the Xbox fan favorite. It's one of my favorites. Battlefield just brings something different that none of those two do. Halo, Team Arena, right? That's what you know it for. You know Call of Duty for Team Arena, now Warzone, but that's new age. And then down below, Battlefield just has a different slice and a different attempt that will get you to draw into it. And so, yeah, the draw is like, hey, do you want to try all out warfare? Do you want to try something totally different with what would be 64 on 64 players? Like, yeah, you're going to want to see that and experience that because it's really, really special.
Yeah, I think you bring up an excellent point. As someone who loved Halo, who played Halo 1 through 3 just religiously, when I played Modern Warfare for the first time, I remember telling people this was the best feeling first person shooter I had ever played. When Modern Warfare 1 dropped, it set the tone of like, this is what a first person shooter needs to feel like, because this feels amazing. And we saw a lot of other games kind of take notes from that and adjust how they felt and played to kind of keep up with that. So yeah, Call of Duty, while it's not my favorite first person shooter, it does feel incredible. And I think that's a huge point. And, you know, Call of Duty is about getting those kills. And when you're getting the kills, you feel really good. And that is, you know, addicting. You want to be, you know, the KD. Call of Duty basically created the obsession with the kill death ratio. That didn't really exist before Call of Duty, and now it's like this obsession for some folks. So it's tough to say what would drive Call of Duty players to Battlefield or Halo, because I think, like you talked about, they all are doing their own thing. And so Call of Duty players play Call of Duty because they know what to expect and they know what they like and they know how it's going to feel and play. And so when they go to your Halos, your Battlefields, they are different, and that's not a problem. I don't think that Call of Duty personally is fundamentally better than a Halo or a Battlefield, but to some people, they prefer the way that feels, and they don't want anything that feels different than Call of Duty. So Halo has done a lot, and it's been controversial for some folks. Adding sprinting. I remember when people were enraged that Halo added sprinting. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I love Halo. I've always loved Halo, but I've always wondered, why the hell can't I run in Halo? Like, what is the deal there? And so there was the drama when sprinting was added. And there's been this hardcore, again, like your hardcore Call of Duty community, a hardcore Halo community says, don't change this. I play Halo because it feels like this. I love the way this feels. Don't you change it at all because it's perfect. And, you know, evolution is important. So it's tough. It's tough to say what would pull Call of Duty players.
Yeah, it's, I mean, don't even get me started. We continue to talk about it on the XCast. And the best part is like, all of us are just talking from our own experiences. And the coolest part is like everybody in the chat right now, you have your own experience and opinion. Everybody out there listening, you have your own experience and opinion. And the coolest part is like we all get to come together, celebrate games, and share our enthusiasm and our thoughts and our critiques, right? And for me and the gang, right, like we talk about Halo, and you brought it up, right? The evolution, right? We're talking about a super soldier in space. And Halo 1 through 3, you could not mantle, you could not run. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm a super soldier. What am I doing? Right. And Call of Duty set the tone of like, here's a slide, here's a mantle, here's sprint. And so like Halo had to follow. And whether you're a Halo purist and you don't think we should ever do that, or whether you think like, hey, Halo 5 was a pretty fun multiplayer game, right? I liked that little dash mechanic. I liked the shoulder charge. I like the shoulder charge. I like being able to mantle and actually feel like I can climb up the side of a building instead of just bricking it all the time. Like, that's your opinion, your thought, but like Halo has to continue to grab a hold of the wide mainstream audience and continue to grow and thrive, right? And evolution comes with that. Gameplay mechanics come with that, whether you like it or not. And what those developers choose to do is always interesting, right? Now we're seeing there's a grappling hook in the video game, right?
Yes.
Did you think when you were playing Halo 2 there'd be a grappling hook? Of course you didn't think that would be, but that's called evolution and it has to happen to survive. So it'll be interesting to see where we land, right, on Halo Infinite. I'm sure a lot of us are signed up for the Halo Insider program, and we'll probably be playing that very, very soon, and we'll have a chance to try it ourselves and have our own opinions. But you have to start to elevate and be a part of this, right? Like Apex Legends, when you think of that game, you think of that momentum and how you move, and it's just like that slide is killer. All of that fun is so much, it's such a good time. It's like they set the tone and people will build off of that. A ping system. And guess what, Halo fans? Did you ever think you're going to have a ping system? You're going to get a ping system because that's what everybody wants now. And so we build off of it from there.
Yeah, your point about the grappling hook. I had never once even thought about Halo having a grappling hook, and thought never crossed my mind. When I saw it in the trailer, I was like, I couldn't believe how perfect like it felt with Halo being such a physics-based game. Like that is the thing I'm most excited about with Halo Infinite. More than anything else we've seen so far, I'm excited about that frickin' grappling hook, dude.
Oh, the grappling. I mean, I can't wait. I'm so excited. The announcer voice is back. I'm excited to see what this AI is all about and how we can customize and change it. I actually, Miles, am a big fan of what they've done with the team and the coloring system, right? Because we always grew up on red versus blue, and I would spend hours picking the right color layout for my cool, alien and/or Spartan, right? I'd be really working it on all that, and then I just become red or blue, and I'm like, well,
Yes.
why do I even try this then, right? And so I'm really excited of like, hey, let's see what these outlines are like, right? Maybe I like them, maybe I don't. I have to get my hands on it to see, but at least right now, for me personally, that's what I want. I want to show off my unique style. I want to show off my colors, and I hated becoming just a blue or red blob in the grand scheme of things. Like that sucked.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Halo had such amazing customization. You could customize different plates of armor, change it all out, and I had my sick orange and like ash and gray set all like dialed in and looking amazing. But whenever I played multiplayer with friends on a team, it was just red or blue, and I was like, man, this isn't like expressing myself as a Halo player. And so I'm glad that they've like reevaluated that and said, you know what, okay, maybe we don't have to do red and blue. We can figure out a way so people can still look cool, have their favorite characters, and it'll be obvious that they're on the enemy team. And yes, I can't wait because, people write off customization, but I think customization has become more and more of an important part of a multiplayer game because you want to express yourself in that world and you want to look cool and show off to your friends. And like, I grinded 2,000 hours for this stupid samurai helmet and I'm going to frickin' wear it. And I want it to look exactly how I want it because I had to work hard for this.
I'm excited. What you think about that new Warthog, Miles?
Dude,
like, are you cool? You want to pull up with your homies? Because for me, I like the turd in the back, right? I like getting those driver assists. I like whipping. Now it's just like you and the homies, right? Which means it reminds me of like Call of Duty Warzone right now, where you watch the top tier players, they all get in the car and they find you, Miles, and it's just like skirt, and you can see it from a mile away. Like you're like, oh, here it comes, right? Like I hope they don't come for me. And sure enough, here it comes on the radar. It's getting closer, and like I'm already picturing it in Halo. It's like if I see you across the map, all four of us are driving as fast as we can towards you. Everybody hops out, immediately murders you, and we all high five, and it's like, get back in the car. We go murder more people, and we're just gonna drive over there and kill you some more,
Yeah, for those reasons, I am stoked. Getting the squad in the car, bombing around, and just going on a murdering spree with all your boys in the back. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, for me, one thing that nobody else can really do on the same level as Halo are the vehicles. Like Battlefield obviously has a ton of vehicles that feel great, but there's something just special and unique about Halo vehicles, and the Warthog being one of them that just hasn't been captured for me in any other first-person shooter. So seeing them expand on that and giving me more ways to have those ridiculous, memorable experiences with friends, oh, dude, I'm ready to get in that Warthog and just slay. And I'm ready to be on the battlefield alone and get slain by a squad in a Warthog.
Happy to see those dumb wreck packs are gone. Those things sucked.
Dude,
those things sucked.
That was
I have a firm stance on the wreck packs that I hate them more than anything in life.
That was a bad experiment, and that was an experiment that was born in the era of every game has loot boxes, and we have to have loot boxes. And dude, I loved Warzone, but it was so unbalanced because it was all driven by loot boxes. So you had like people who come in with this god tier tank, and you're like, I got a gun goose, so I guess I'll use that. And you would just get wrecked. And you would spend all these points and this limited number of resources to spawn this epic gun. You'd get one legendary sniper rifle. Like, yeah, I'm spawning this. I'm gonna pull it out. You walk outside, scorpion tank shoots you, and your gun's gone, and you never get it again. You're like, okay, cool. I felt good.
Happy to see Warzone go, whether they do bring that back or not. Like, I never was a fan of Warzone. I like the elevation of big team battle to bigger team battle. Very excited to see what they do with that and how they add that and play with that. But yeah, I was never a fan of Warzone. It just never clicked. I know a lot of kids were excited come 4 of like, oh man, like it's 2 gigantic teams and like you're also fighting, NPC aliens and it's really, really cool. And it's just like, no, I don't vibe with any of that. It just never felt right. So let's just go back to the arena and slay out. It just never was good for me.
Yeah, I dug Warzone. I get what they're trying to do. I like that it felt like this big kind of evolving and shifting battlefield. But yeah, there were some fundamental flaws with Warzone, and it seems like I was wondering if they're going to try it again with Halo Infinite, but it seems like they're just taking it back to basics in a lot of ways and saying like, we know what's good about Halo, we know what works with Halo, and we're just going to expand on that. Maybe we'll experiment later, but for now, we're going to give you a tight Halo experience that you know and love, basically.
That's what they got to do. They got to win us all over, and free to play is the first step, and also a killer campaign. We all want a killer campaign. We want to see the people we love, like Cortana and Chief. We want to be introduced to this awesome Banished group, and we want to have a fun story. And the idea of me and my homies playing through this co-op and like doing dumb things like we're gonna do, where we just break the game, where it's like, oh, go invade that fortress. Oh yeah, we're about to do something insane with some warthogs and 4 people doing something wild. I cannot wait for that.
We're going to have people in the warthog bombing off a hill. You're going to have the passenger who's grapple hooked an exploding barrel, who's going to throw it underneath the warthog and shoot it. And you're going to launch up in the air and like launch your warthog in a tower that was never designed to have a warthog in it. And those are the reasons that Halo is my favorite first-person shooter franchise.
That's fine. Can't wait. But that's why you step away from Call of Duty.
Exactly.
There's your answer.
There it is. There. Tying it all back. Super chat from Christopher Jetser says, Miles, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the upcoming horror game, In Sound Mind. I guess it's from the developers of Christ Tales. I saw it was coming, didn't know anything about it. Actually, I think it's of Sound Mind, if I remember right, and that is on my radar in a big way. I think there is a demo, or was a demo, available on Steam. So if you are curious in it, you can check it out right now. I haven't played it myself, but I was talking to another good friend, another big horror nerd like myself, and he played it, and he was really praising some of the kind of puzzle mechanics in it, talking about this really creepy puzzle where there's this kind of like demon woman, and she goes inside of a mirror, and the mirror shatters into a bunch of pieces. And you have to pick up this mirror piece and use that to solve this puzzle. So the only way that you can find the clues is by holding this mirror up and looking behind you in this mirror, like over your shoulder. But that's also the only way that you can see this demon woman. So there's this interesting balance of like sometimes when you hold up the mirror and look, and there'll just be this demon woman behind you. So it sounds like there's some really, really creative puzzles for a horror game. So haven't played it, want to play it, but it's definitely on my radar in a big way right now.
Awesome. You are my horror guy. I look at your Twitter and like, that's how I keep up with my horror games. I look for Miles, and if he says it's hot, then I'll go give it a try.
Oh yeah. If you ever want to just rant about horror games, hit me up on Twitter. I'll talk about horror all day. More movies, games. I will go down any rabbit hole with you. So Mike, we're going to wrap it up here. It's been a blast. Love having you on. Love all the conversations, the Halo hype. Look at that hoodie, everyone. Look at that.
That's that really nice hoodie.
Halo. That's it. That's all you need to know. As we get closer and closer to Halo, my hype is building more and more and more. And like you said, I think we're going to be playing some Halo here real soon, Mike. So let everyone know where they can get a hold of you. And again, thanks so much for hanging out, man.
Miles, I love talking with you. You are one of the best around. I love everything you do. Congratulations on a incredible Xbox Chaturdays. 33 episodes. Really, really great. Of course, you can find me on all social media platforms at SnowBikeMike. Over on Instagram, I post cute photos of my pug dogs over here in Lake Tahoe. So pretty picturesque and pretty great. Over on Twitter, I'm talking all things video games, Xbox more or less because I love Xbox. And I'm sharing the hype and enthusiasm around games. So come on over. Let's spread some positivity. Let's talk about games and have some fun. You can find me over at Kind of Funny as well. Myself, Paris Lilly, and Gary Whitta. Each and every Saturday, we'll talk about Xbox and all the things we love, and also think what's going on over there with the Kind of Funny Xcast. So make sure to check that out. The latest episode is now live. It's a Psychonauts 2 preview alongside an interview with me and Paris, and of course, the legend, Tim Schafer. You don't want to miss out on that. We've had the team from Acid Nerve talking about Death's Door as well. We've had the team from Rare, which I know Miles loves, talking about Sea of Thieves. We've had a lot of great guests, so please go over there and check that out. Along with that, you can follow me on Twitch. I play games each and every night, playing all sorts of games. And there's one more thing I wanted to promote. Oh, yes, that's right. I will be teaming up with the team over at Twitch and my good friend, Sancho West, to live react and hang out during the Olympics. So I will be coming on in August, probably the first week of August. Me and Sancho West will be doing a live watch long and hanging out during beach volleyball and track and field. And Miles, let me tell you what, nothing is cooler than the Olympics, right? We all come together, we bring our best and brightest, and we compete for medals and, of course, prestige. And I got to tell you what, nothing's doper than some beach volleyball, right? So I think of Top Gun, I think of the music, I think about people getting gritty out in the sand, digging, diving, spiking the ball. And I'm pretty excited and I'm honored by Twitch and Sancho West to be invited and to hang out during the Olympics over on that platform. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm really, really excited. So stop on by. But that's enough of me ranting. I'll let Miles take us away so we can go play some Pokemon, all right? That's all that's on my mind right now.
Speaking of which, when are we squadding up, bro? I don't have a 5-person squad. I need...
Really?
I got...
Miles, and, hit me up. We got to squad up right away. Hit me up right away. We'll squad up.
Let's do it. Again, Mike, love you, man. Thanks so much for hanging out. Stoked to hear about the Olympics news. You are the man. If anyone is going to get me hyped, amped, ready for some beach volleyball, it is SnowBikeMike. So let's go. Let's watch some spikes, some slams, and everyone enjoy this weekend. It's beautiful outside, at least here in Colorado, and I hope you have a fantastic one. And I will see you next week. Take care, everybody.